sorted. Okay, let's get this going. I need to get these sorted. Oh, come on. Copy link. There we go. What's up? Hi guys, bear with us a second. We are just getting set up. There we go, that one. Last one of these. And okay, so, right, welcome to tonight's stream, brought to you by the letter W for white wine. I'm sure everyone is feeling bloody marvellous today with everything that's been going on with the index today. The scores on the doors are looking absolutely fantastic, as I'm sure you agree. I mean, to be honest, actually, if the PB scores stop where they are right now, I would be freaking ecstatic because I've got Zuma and Kramaric, and that would do me nicely. A bit of positivity. So let's see what we've got for us today on the old Twitter. Let's share, bring that up and bring that up. So let's have a quick look at the rankings. Feel free to have a shout in the comments if you want me to talk about anything in particular, by the way. And if anyone wants to come on and have their say, then just, you know, drop me a message and I will get you the link sent over so you can see it. So in fact, I need to have that on here. Currently keeping one eye on the Man United game as well to let you know if anything interesting happens over there. So don't worry, you won't miss anything from that. Let's get that and get that muted, and we can see that in real time. So where's the match day rankings? Let's see how it's going today. See if anyone's managed to overtake Zuma yet. Right, that is brilliant news for me. Let's keep that right there because that gets me quite a few dividends today, so that will suit me. Don't know if anyone else has got Zuma, but I reckon he's a decent shout this year for a cheeky odd win. And Ronaldo's ruined me fun. I did have Kramaric, but Ronaldo's gone and shat on that one. So that's going to kill us. I'm just going to give it a little bit of time before I get into the main content of today's thing, because I want to give people a chance to get on, because I did say that I wasn't going live till 8:30. So just giving people time to dial in. But, you know, come on, guys, talk in the chat. How is the general mood on the index at the moment? Looking on Twitter, it's pretty freaking dire at the moment. Everyone is talking about the doom and gloom and the death of the index. And it is fairly dark times at the moment. Everything is absolutely having the arse fall out of it. I mean, get out of the way there. If I come out back into here and we have a look at the latest top 200, see if the picture is getting any better. No, these prices are getting even worse in the disconnect. So the main thing you need to look for is this connection between the average offer price and the current buy-sell prices and the spreads there. We have some pretty wide spreads, and we also have a massive disconnect with the average offer price, which means that we are still a long way away from market equilibrium. And we can see that in some of the hits we're taking today. I mean, I just don't believe that Trent's up 15% in the last 24 hours. I looked at his figures the other day and it certainly wasn't looking like that. Middle of the United match. So, yeah, it's said we need to get these spreads closing in. You'll have all seen me bring up this thing about equilibrium. So the market needs to get to a point where the buy and sell prices have closed in on each other and we've hit an equilibrium point. That's where supply meets demand. Currently, we've got the situation where the sells and the buys just aren't linking up, and there's that massive disconnect because we've not hit the equilibrium price. And then we've also got another sort of red circle way over on the far right, which is where the average offer price is at the moment. Cheers for hosting a live. You've been a good voice of reason for the last few weeks. Enjoy the pod. Thanks, Ben. What's that, Simon? Still poor. What's poor? The general market. It does feel that way, doesn't it? I mean, it's going to be weeks, guys, before this starts to pick up because we've had this artificial inflation in the last sort of 36 hours, and today's kind of the last day of it, where basically we've had that sort of 9-game, 30-day IPD window, which means that there's that opportunity to obviously refresh your portfolio. So people would have hopefully been doing that, but now we're kind of into a point where we've just had that. So there's even less reason to trade. I mean, okay, there is still going to be like 8 games, 7 games, 6 games, but the longer we go through this sort of little period, it's going to sort of really start to grind to a halt a bit. I'm going to see even less liquidity than we have been seeing. So keep an eye on those prices. I mean, I'm going to be talking a little bit about why we really don't want to be undercutting each other. So how scalping people with low prices and instant selling really damages the overall market in the long term and hurts yourself as much as it hurts the person you're scalping. So we'll get into that into more detail, and I'm happy for anyone to come on and challenge it, because I know that one of the guys in the Facebook group has said that what I'm saying there is absolutely rubbish, but I would love for somebody to convince me I'm wrong on this, because if I'm right, it just means that we're all in for a bit of a painful few months. So it will eventually square off. And it's one of those things with investments is you can always just buy your way out of it, but that's assuming that anyone's got any free capital to do that, because, you know, to buy your way out of it, you've got to be able to basically invest enough into your same shares to basically bring down the average price so that you've squared it off. But that takes a lot of capital, because it basically means like doubling or tripling your current investment to get to buying your way out of the problem. And for some people, that's just not going to be possible at all. So, you know, it's a difficult time. Come on, guys, give me something to talk about. What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? What's the state of play on things? The Man U game is a typical Man United game this season and is freaking awful, 0-0 so far. So there must be better things to be talking about than that. That is a nice white wine. If anyone likes white wine, you should definitely check out the Marlborough region in New Zealand. It's very nice fruity white wines from there. I'm just looking at these spreads again. Oh God, it's so bad. It really is bad. Yeah. So anyone feeling brave and want to come on and give me somebody to bounce off of, because this is bloody painful on your own, I can tell you that. So thoughts on that week? What will FI do? What should they do? What will FI do? In the next week, nothing is the answer to that, unfortunately. What should they do? Well, there is a whole raft of things they could be doing. They could be bringing back instant sell on the down low, even if they put a wide spread on it. That would at least give people an exit strategy, and particularly on some of the dead wood that's in the index, because we know there's like plenty of old dead wood that's sitting there that nobody's ever going to put an offer in because they're gone. They are gone from the index. So anyone that's still stuck with Vincent Company shares, for example, or Benega shares, there's just no one's going to be buying those because they are out of the index. They are out of any opportunity to win dividends at this point. And so because of that, that means that no one's going to be buying them. Now, if you've still got shares in that and FI offered you a way out, you're going to take that instant sell, and hopefully you'll then take that cash and put it back into the index. Now, we don't know if that will happen, but I can't see them doing it, because to be honest, if they were going to bring back the instant sale, they should have done it very early doors, because that was when the opportunity was. It's now just too late really for them to do it. I mean, the brilliant thing that they could do right now is they could bring back instant sale at current prices, and that would instantly solve the current rot on the index. And also, they've still halved their liabilities, because the amount of value that, say, Sancho is now going at compared to where he was going at, they've taken their liability from being like £14.80 on Sancho to being sort of £4 or £5 that they could be offering on instant sell now. And so that would mean that they've brought back stability to market, and they've still halved their liabilities, because that was why they did this, was to basically get themselves out of the liabilities side of things. So, I don't know why they don't do that, because they could still have their cake and eat it. But it's just, they seem absolutely 100% against this. They are going to play on with order books, come what may. Could they come back in and put a number of shares back in at each price point just to buffer out these sharp drops? Well, them offering people to you at any price is a bad thing, because that provides more shares, which means that there's more volume in the market, which overall pushes prices down, because the more volume there is in the thing, the supply is up, the demand is the same, and so prices will drop, because people will try and sell at a lower price until they can exit, and it's a buyer's market at that point. So Football Index adding shares into the market is only going to make things worse. Football Index offering some kind of buyback scheme where they take shares out of the market should improve, because then you are strangling supply, which means that demand will drive prices up. So simple supply and demand is, while people are trying to sell, if there is too many people trying to sell, then prices will be pushed down. If there are more people that are trying to buy than are trying to sell, then prices will migrate upwards. The problem at the moment is we have got a ridiculous volume of people looking to sell for a combination of reasons of, one, the lack of sell options, and also through COVID being limited on who you get out of, and now being sort of trapped in a sense of low value, which this is what's pushing prices down, basically, is there are an awful lot of people looking to sell at the moment, and not many people looking to buy, or people that are looking to buy and looking to buy at the lowest possible price to absolutely strip out and scalp anyone that's looking to sell at the moment. And that's going to continue until we get to a point where there aren't people desperate to sell. And I can't see that happening anytime soon, because there's just nothing to prop the market up to get it going, really. So it is all about, I mean, that's the one thing I'd say. Go and find some accountancy video about supply and demand and learn as much as you can about that, because that will really help you understand where the index is with all these things. And the other side of it is, I'll get into the main content now. So let's go back to sharing the old screen and get up this. So this is where we get into real trouble. So what's happening at the moment is Football Index is its own independent economy, basically. So there is a certain amount of money that sits within that economy. And what we have here on the left is a very simplified Football Index economy. So we've got £3,000 in the market in total value. That's made up of some Sancho shares, some Kimmich shares, Salah and Gnabry, just to give some examples. And what happens here is this guy, trader one, bought Sancho at 15 quid. He got 100 shares of Sancho at 15 quid. He's now offering to sell those at £7.50, and trader two decides to buy those. Now, that means that he has lost £7.50 on every single one of those shares. He then takes his 750 quid that he's got out of that and decides to go and buy some Salah and Gnabry, and he's going to undercut trader 3 and 4. So instead of offering them the 375 they bought at, he's offering them £2. So he gets those shares. So what does this do? Well, this leads to the total market value dropping from 3 grand to 1900 quid, because some of the money has moved into people's wallets, which we'll then talk about in a second. And that money has now left the market. So the total wallet value is 750 quid. So if you add that to the 1900 top, we get an overall value of pounds left in the football index economy of 2650. And it's like, well, how can that be? Because Trader 2's just added £750 into the economy by him he didn't sell those Kimmich cells to get that 750. He had to put that money in new. So there's £750 new money coming to the market. How has the overall value gone down? It makes no sense. Well, unfortunately, it does, because what happens here is because Trader 1 bought these shares from Football Index at 15 quid. That money left the market when Football Index took the instant sell away. So that then becomes only whatever anyone is willing to pay that share for, not the old 15 quid that it was worth. So that concept of him being worth 15 quid is now gone until the market forces push him back to being 15 quid. And that is going to take a long time, because he has more supply than pretty much any other player on this index. So it is going to take an awful lot of effort to force him back to 15 quid. A Herculean performance for an entire 3 seasons might do it. But so what's happened here is, because we've been scalping each other and undercutting each other, that Trader 1 has basically lost 750 quid. So he no longer has that money to put back into the index and buy from other people. So he's then undercut Traders 3 and 4. And they've then also lost out, because they've had to lose, nearly half their money as well, because they're paying 2 quid instead of 375. So they've lost out for the money as well. And between them, they've lost 350 quid. And that's the delta that's come out of the market, basically. And the more this happens, the more this cascades through, the more people that offer low ball prices and people that then accept those on the instant sell function, the more money is being eroded out of the overall FI economy. And that means the overall market cap and market value is dropping and dropping and dropping. And we all have less money to put back in, which then strangles the liquidity and drives prices down. And it becomes a horrible negative feedback loop that just keeps on cycling in on itself. And this is the point. We can be throwing more money into this market and the market can still be dropping if we are scalping each other. If we buy at the blue button rate, that money stays in the economy and it stays flat. So we're not taking money out of the economy. We're not eroding the football index economy. We are keeping it balanced and stable. And that's what we need to be doing, because I know it seems fun. I know it seems like you've got a bargain if you're scalping people, but honestly, in the long run, if you have a large portfolio or if you had any kind of money in here, in the long run, you are hurting yourself, because you are taking money off that trader. And you're not gaining that money. That money's just going out of the index. And that means that trader then has less money to spend on the index. And say, if you've got 2 players that you want to get rid of, that for some reason he wants to buy, well, he's now going to be offering you less for them because he's got less money to trade with. So he's now going to be looking for a bargain, and the next trader and the next trader from that. And every single time this happens, we just get more and more and more money leave the index, and nobody is winning here. Nobody. So you might think you're getting a bargain, you might think you've struck a good deal, but in the long run, it is all coming back round to hurt us. So that is the one thing I'd ask you to really think about when you're trading. It's difficult to get your head around, and it's really painful. And there is a lot of narrative in the index at the moment about how, oh, well, that's not the case. That can't be right, because he's still worth 15 quid. So I've just scalped him. I've paid 5 quid. So I've gained 10 quid. How have you gained 10 quid? Because he's only ever worth 15 quid if the market forces ever push him back to being worth 15 quid. So even if that happens, that's not because anyone's magically printed extra money again. That is because enough people have put in new capital into the index to push him back up. So that's all new money that's had to come in from outside the FI economy to drive that back. There is nothing internal to the FI economy that can move him back to £15 now. That day's gone. That ship has sailed. By all of this undercutting and driving the market down, we have lost that money from this market. So it is really challenging. I don't know what to say really. It's just a painful day. And just glancing over the Man United game again, it is still a boring, god-awful 0-0 draw. Honestly, if you want to make some money on betting this season, just back Man United to be dull as dishwater and like under 2 goals a game, and you're probably going to do all right. Because every game I've watched them in so far this season has been freaking awful. I wouldn't mind a West Brom goal though, just to kill any of that defence, PB. Surely this is a broken system, and how can it be rectified? So it can be rectified with time. The problem is, it is, while we are undercutting and scalping each other, that needs a lot of money to come in and offset that. Now, people are winning decent amount of dividends every day, or at least I'm hoping they are. So, certainly like when a good big player wins a dividend, that will massively help the market, because that's extra money in. Hey, Divi, please come on and save me. I am on my own here, and it is very difficult to drive this on a solo conversation. It's great to have someone to bounce off, so please come join me. I will send you the Zoom link to make sure you've got it. But yeah, so there are ways back from this. It is not that this is a fait accompli and it is absolutely doomed to sink and death spiral for all eternity. What I'm saying is that it requires a lot of capital, and the more scalping we do, the harder the journey back is. Now, again, if Football Index were to step in here and provide a instant sell concept again, that instantly fixes the problem, because it puts us back into the simple trading dynamic process that they had, where the market is fixed. It can't spike and fall in the same way. Surely Playgrows put off a really big investor. Did he get a whiskey and you and jump on with Noir? Yeah, so Divvy, I'm on the white wine this evening. So this pod is brought to you by the letter W for white wine. Busy at the moment doing a bit of work. Oh, boo you. Surely, right, where are we? Marketing percent halfway. Surely Playgrows put off a new big investor. Potentially, but investors do love a crash. So people will look at it and go, right, have I got a bargain here? So for example, the stock market, I was looking back in April at the stock market, British Airways and Shell, because it's like, right, the air traffic is shanked and fuel is shanked because no one's driving, no one's flying. So well, those are businesses that I am pretty confident will continue to exist in the long term. So I will buy shares in them, because eventually they will come back. They're currently trading. They were, at the time I bought into them, trading at something like 20% of their average value for the previous year. So that was an example of somebody buying on a crash. If an investor looks at it and goes, right, hey, somebody like KDB, he's going to have a great career ahead of him. He's down to 30% of his peak value. Maybe now's a good time to buy him. So I don't think that, depending on the type of investor you're looking at, they can probably use that from a marketing perspective to really try and upsell this and go, hey, there's no better time to buy in. The market's just crashed. You're now getting yourself an absolute bargain. This guy was worth 12 quid like last week, so you can get him at 4. Why wouldn't you buy him? This is an amazing marketing opportunity. And you just have to look at the Twitter feed to see people are saying like, oh yeah, this is a great market value. This is amazing how low this is. It's fantastic. I'm desperate to be able to pump more money in. While the other half of Twitter is going, this is the apocalypse. I'm out. I'm done. I'm wiping my hands of it. It's just, I don't know. We had a chat the other day on one of these things, and people were trying to come up with some options, and I posted them on my Twitter feed, and pretty much everyone just universally shat all over them, you don't want to do that, that would ruin that, or that would ruin that, or that would ruin that. It's like, well, look guys, it's easy to set fire to other people's work. Somebody come up with a solution here. Somebody suggest something that isn't just Football Index stepping back with instant sell, because that's the quick fix. That's the obvious easy fix. Is 2 things: is Football Index step back as instant sell, or Football Index either create or get back in with a market maker. And that then helps because it provides instant liquidity to the market. But, just because a market maker comes in doesn't mean that this necessarily becomes all hunky-dory, because they're going to be looking to make a profit. So they're going to be looking to buy on the bad news and sell on the good news for players. So they're not going to be looking to offer you the good old football index instant sell rate of sort of like 5% spread. They're going to be looking to skim some margin off of that. So those spreads aren't going to really close in massively from market makers, except on certain players when they have a really good performance on a certain day. I feel like there should be some existing markets that FI can use as a template. Well, yeah, it's just general markets really, but the problem with it is that this is kind of unique to the general stock market because it is gambling, because we can make guesses and we can make educated guesses of looking at things and saying, right, Kimmich is going to win more dividends than, I don't know, old pony player from, League One football team at Brest or whatever. He's not going to win any dividends over the career and they're going to get relegated next year or whatever it is. So you can make an educated guess and look at certain players and go, they're more likely to win dividends. But it's not like the stock market where you can go, right, well, Shell pay out this amount of dividends every 6 months. They have done for the last 20 years. They will continue to do so. It might be slightly downgraded for the next 2 years while they struggle with the lack of demand. But once that returns to normal, everything will return to normal. This doesn't have that same market effect because there is no guarantee that KDB is ever going to win another PB ever again. You would bet that he would, but there is absolutely no guarantee. And that's the real difference between this and investing in companies, is there isn't that sort of guaranteed income. There is just a odds-on good chance income. And that's the delta that we're dealing with. So what else have we got in here? Back to the broken system. It can be rectified. More money coming in helps. Football Index really need to look at how they're going to drive this and what they're going to do. I think it'll be very interesting to see if they try to come up with a new dividend along the lines of competing with SportStack. So SportStack have just come out with their careers mode, and their dividend solution is around this. You get a certain number of pennies if they score a certain number of points. So Football Index could do that. They could go, right, if he gets 200 PB, then he gets 1 or 2 pence worth of dividends. Now that helps because that provides more stability around your opportunity to win dividends, because you're not relying on him having to become number one and he can score 300 points but get pipped by some guy that scores 301 or some guy that scores 300 and happens to be a day younger than him. So if you said it was set up like that and he scored 300 points and you got 5p, say, well, then there's a real reason to get back into buying people, because you've got far more confidence that people are going to pick up certain dividends. And that confidence then breeds into investment, because you can say, right, these are guaranteed broadly. This guy will score this number of points, this number of times a season. Whereas nobody can look at it and say, this guy is definitely going to finish first at least 3 times a season. You can say there's a good chance of that based on his scores, but you are still really in the fate of the thing. So many people complaining about me doing this in the middle of the Man United match. Hey, when else was I going to do it? And like I said, it's fucking garbage. It's 0-0. You tell me that's a good game. Christ, you're having some terrible matches of football you've been watching. So that's something Football Index could do. But again, we're then back to the general usual complaint of, well, it's too complicated. We're making it more complicated. We're always changing things. Why can't we just stick with the current dividend stream? It's too confusing. I don't understand it. So, the other thing people have talked about is the potential to increase IPDs in the short term. That drives people mad, because then you're moving money away from the top players who are already suffering pretty badly into the lower players. But it does improve liquidity, because it's a reason to refresh your portfolio, so it's a reason to go and buy. So that helps improve liquidity in the short term. and it also means that people are winning more dividends in a more rapid succession if they do refresh their portfolio. So there's then more dividend money lying around to invest back into the index. So that can help. I appreciate that is going to be a painful ride for anyone that's in on a Sancho or an Mbappe, but it certainly helps the mid to low market get some liquidity going. And that's what our problem is at the moment. It's a complete lack of any form of liquidity across the entire piece. And, I honestly don't see how we can really change that for those top value players, barring some kind of football index offer to buy back shares on those people to try and strangle the supply. So football index did a buyback on half the Sancho shares, and you get like £6 a share or something to motivate you to sell because he's well, actually, let's look at what price he is at the moment. Yeah, exactly. I get the. I'm not saying that is something that fixes it. I'm saying that is a potential lever that people could pull. So if we just had a look at Sancho, Sancho's trading around sort of £5 at the moment. So if Football Index said to you, right, you can cash in some of your Sancho shares for £6, that might get some people to cash them in, and that might then basically strangle the supply enough to start forcing his price back up. Due to the lack of supply, demand would increase over the supply, and we'll see the money go back up. What team do I support? I support Liverpool for my sins. We finally won the league after 30 years of pain for me, because we'd last won the league when I was 5 years old. So it was good to see us finally win it. Snake, I absolutely agree. The 5 times definitely brought in more volatility, and it caused a lot of problems, but it honestly wasn't what started this mess. What started this mess was order books. It was the fact that we brought it in and we opened it up as a free market for people to start trading. And because of the way that the old football index model worked, the players who were worth the most had the most number of shares available, which meant that there was always going to be downward pressure on their price because there was going to be an oversupply and an undemand. Because if you're looking at the index and you're new and you've got a limited amount of funds, why are you going to buy Sancho for £15 when there's so much supply that you can probably offer 12 and get him? And that's what started to happen. And then it's just continued down that path and eroded to where we are now. And that's the biggest problem we've got, is that basically the players that are the most valuable or the most expensive. Hey, Divi's on. Thank God for that. Let's get into the participants and make it so he can actually talk. Oh, thank you, Divi, for dialing on. Any views on this, mate? You need to unmute yourself.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my camera's not on. I'm just dialing in from my phone.
That's all right, mate. You don't need the camera at all.
Good. Yeah, no, I was just dialing in. I can't stay for too long because I've got work to do for tomorrow. Government never sleeps. I was just picking up on the point about what FI want to do and the point behind order books, because there've been a few tweets about this. Why don't we go back to IAS? I said the other day on John's pod that I think people have missed the point if they think that was ever the case. We were always going to order books. This is the goal. I don't think the system is fucked. I think the fuck up they've made is that they allowed a community to become used to a completely different system, a completely different style of trading, and people have been lumbered with bets that they made under completely different risk profile, and then suddenly that was taken away. And I've wondered out loud that if Adam Cole was to do this again, would he start with order books? Because things like Sports Stack have opened with order books, and my suspicion is he didn't, because he thought it would be too complicated. It might have been. I mean, it's a bit chicken and egg, because it might have been that the reason other platforms have been able to start with order books is because FI did it first, and people have become used to. FI introduced the kind of the trading market in footballers first, and people became used to that model. But I think the IS has created a culture that is now incompatible with this model. And all of your points from earlier about the oversupply and people accepting low trades and people trying to jump in and out of players is I think a product of taking on bets under a completely different risk profile that you are now lumbered with.
Absolutely, yeah. It was entirely down to that because, you know, if you wanted Sancho, you could only buy him at that price because of the way the former pricing structure worked, and you had the opportunity or the confidence that he'd only ever gone one way. You had the instant sell cushion there, so you knew the most you would be paying was a 5% spread. So that was where that market was, but it's now all no holds bar, is it?
Well, it's a bit of that, but personally, I don't think the premiums are the problem, because I think providing the supply issue gets sorted, and that is a big if, but there will always be demands for premiums, because if liquidity, if FI start marketing the product again and the platform grows, then people are going to pile money into the likes of Sancho, Neymar, etc. So there will always be demand for those players. I think the problem, and I mentioned this the other day, that is all of those players under 50p, under £1 that people previously bet. Because consider this. So consider in January, and bearing in mind this is 6 months before I joined, so I'm doing this is a bit of a history lesson for me. But in January, you're in a point where divs are about, I think, 8p for a gold day. And I think top players on the index are at £6 or £7. And you can buy maybe a centre back for 20p who you think has a chance of winning a gold day once every 2 years or something. And you're thinking, if you buy, say, a Neymar at £6, you know, he has to win a lot of gold days to start paying off that money. Bearing in mind, when he's £10 and dividends have over doubled, then suddenly that ratio is a bit better. But back then, you're thinking, well, the reward of instead of putting £6 into a Neymar, I'll put in, you know, however many I can buy of a 20p defender, because I'm hoping that he'll have that kind of, you know, the every dog has his day moment. Not only are the yields there, you've got this idea that the reward in terms of what one win would do in terms of the return on investment is huge. Secondly, you've got the fact that you've got a market mechanism designed for capital gain, capital appreciation. So even a 5p move in his price raises it 25%, and you could sell then thinking, okay, I've made a good profit very quickly. And then the third thing is, you've got all of the reward there, but the risk of having very little market in an unknown player is taken away because you've got instant sell. So you've got a permanent safety net of being able to sell at maybe 75% of whatever you paid for them. So you're very much in a position where there is a good reason to have these speculative punts on all of these, you know, all but valueless players. As soon as you take that safety net away and there is no market for those players anymore, you have, if you go down the squad list, there are just players that I can't make a rational argument for wanting to ever buy at any price, because I just think the rewards are so much better once you get up to, say, the 50p a pound players, where you've got players there that you think there is a genuine reason why this person will challenge for PB 2 or 3 times a season, and I also know there'll be a market there should I need to sell them on. If I lump into these 20p players in non-PB leagues, I may never see that money again. So I think for me, that's where the money's trapped.
It is, but I mean, to be honest, I never understood why people were playing the players in non-PB leagues anyway.
Because you got the safety net, you had all of the reward, minimal risk, and so I think it wouldn't have been my approach in truth, but there's a rational reason to do it. There isn't one anymore, and that's why there are no bids on those players. And personally, so whenever I've tried to suggest fixes to this, I've always thought you need to free up the money trapped in those players, because ultimately people must be looking through their portfolios and having half of these players with no sell price, and thinking, well, I can't ever get rid of those players. So then, as I said this the other day, it becomes Sophie's choice with your premiums. And at the moment, because Sancho's more of a medium man than a PB man, I'm assuming more people are trying to flog off Sancho than maybe some of the other players.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I'd love to know how much money is locked into people that are literally, there's no get out clause, and there is never going to be a get out clause because they are, non-PB leagues, and barring some kind of amazing transfer, they're not coming in, or somebody that's gone off on a Swanee to China or Saudi Arabia. It'll be very interesting to know how much money has basically gone down the toilet, because that is now trapped for all eternity and never coming back. But yeah,
I started looking with a few people. I think Frog was on this actually. Started looking with a few people the other day, just having a look for players that should be valueless now but have bids. And I found that there was somebody had bid 11p for Antonio Valencia's.
yes, I remember seeing that actually.
And,
Yeah,
and I think the value of the bid was about £5.80. And I'm thinking, is that really the best use of £5.80 in today's market? Buying
no, you could
50
have
odd
had,
Valencias when
yeah,
you'd have two Trents.
well, not even that. You could have, how many would it be? 10 Zoomers.
10 Zoomers, 5 Odegaards, but they've decided to go for 53 Antonio Valencias. And the funniest thing was, that bid hadn't been matched yet. Who are the sellers going, no, I want 14p? This is this is a guy that's basically retired in Peru or somewhere. But hey,
Dortmund. Is the Dortmund game over? Someone tell me the Dortmund game's over. Sorry, I'm having a quick look at the PB scores to try and work out if oh no, they've still got 16 minutes. Oh, there goes McCurt Zuma dividends for the day. Guerrero's working his way up the bloody tracks. Boo. No, never going to sell those Kurt Zuma shares, am I?
I sold up on Guerrero a few weeks ago. That's a shame. One more point I'll make before I'll pass over to Frog. So a bit of theory. I'll give everybody a bit of homework. I was going to bring this up with John, but it's back to one of my previous jobs was as a strategist for a few charities. And the thing, going back to kind of the point of FI, the thing that I'm confused by with FI is it goes back to what do they want to be? And I've heard people say, well, why don't they go back to IS? And what did they get too greedy? Yeah, they did get greedy, and I don't really have an issue with them getting greedy. And the reason behind that is, if they stay with the IS model, their target market is casual punters, which is fine, and that's a good model in itself, and that certainly could have been profitable. But from their perspective, if I'm honest, they've looked at that market and thought that market is only worth X. Whereas if we can find a way of transitioning this to something that high net worth individuals will invest in, that market is worth 10 times, 20 times. And so my question is, at what point did they make that decision that they wanted to stretch into this new market? Because if you look at all their early marketing, it's all about being an alternative to an accumulator, and it's all aimed at the casual football punter. And suddenly they've decided, actually, we want to be a financial market and attract genuine traders. And I've raised this before, that it's very few products in the world successfully market themselves at two very diverse like market groups, and they are incredibly diverse market groups.
Yeah.
I struggle I can't think of any products, and I'm talking products as the greatest products in the world. I can't think of anybody that would market it successfully at that. And so the homework I would give people, if anybody has seen this or hasn't seen this, Simon Sinek's I think he's like a I don't know if he's a philosopher, but anyway, he does a lot of kind of TED Talks and things on business theory and things like this. And he did a talk called Start With Why, which I think is about 10 years old now, but he was talking about why Apple is successful, because they make it very clear what their purpose is as an organization and the things that they believe in. And because they talk about their beliefs and their genuine vision for the company, it's a lot easier to buy into what they do and jump from kind of one product to another. He makes the example, why didn't people buy Dell TVs or Dell kind of MP3 players? Because Dell are a capable company that make great computers, but because Apple brand themselves as being innovative and stretching the market, if you buy into that philosophy, you'll follow them anywhere. You'll buy anything they end up making. And I stole these ideas all the time when I was doing my previous job, and I look at I look at football index, and I don't know why they exist, and I think that's their central point. I don't know what their point is. I don't know why they exist anymore. I don't know if they exist to be that alternative to an ACCA, or if they genuinely aspire to be this alternative financial market. And because of that, we just have a very confused state where we have a product that isn't suitable for anybody. It's not good enough for the financial traders, and it's not good enough for the casual punters anymore.
Do you actually know the original idea or concept that was Football Index. So I've spoken to Adam Cole's spoken about this a few times at
wasn't it
some
the
of the very
celebrity
early
thing?
trades. Yeah. So Adam Cole, basically, it all started with media, because what Adam Cole wanted it to be was you'd buy into, say, Johnny Depp or something, and the newspaper articles would generate a certain amount of points, and then you'd win money that way. And basically, somebody took him aside, possibly Mike Bowen, because obviously they're quite close, and basically went, you'd make a lot more money out of this if you focus on football rather than generic celebrities, because there's a much bigger football market than there is a sort of celeb culture market for investment. And that is how Football Index initially started, because only media dividends existed. In fact, I joined the index, I think, just after PB was created. That was the point where I got into the index, because that was the point where it started to interest me.
Mm-hmm.
So the index launched with 20p media dividends only, and has diversified from there. And so, considering they diversified once from this is just going to be media, and it was originally going to be about celebrities, it's not unsurprising that they have then diversified and grown it into a completely different state or position from where it started once again, by them having certain conversations with certain individuals that knew certain things about those opportunities, and have sold them on that vision as being the way forwards, rather than the version of events that they're in. Now, there seems to be a real disregard for the traders that they've got and the traders that they've had in, and it's very depressing that that's the attitude, really, because they seem to have just absolutely abandoned everyone. And anytime anyone complains, we get one of these tweets or email chains that basically go, "Oh, you've never had it so good, get over yourselves," which I don't think is very productive or reassuring to people.
No, I agree with you. I think, I mean, my problem's always been, and again, I need to stress, I joined in the summer, so I joined once all the books was already kind of in the offing, and IS was long gone. But I don't have a problem with the kind of the theoretical plan to transition from one to the other. I think there are challenges to it, but it needed to be really well thought out, and they needed to really understand what the impact was going to be on people that had been trading under a different risk profile. And I've talked a lot on the timeline about I don't understand how they seem to have no concept of kind of customer kind of customer segmentation and understanding the different behaviors of different types of traders, because it wouldn't take a great deal of analysis to look at, you know, how does an individual react to a market shock. Just do some basic data mapping to see, you know, 10% of our customer base reacting this way, and then from kind of looking at kind of key features like that, you would soon find most traders will fall into you know, a variety of different pots where they will react in certain ways, and you end up labeling them and thinking, right, I mean, in general marketing, it's a way of reaching people, because you understand how people behave and how people respond to messages. I don't understand how they haven't done this already, because it would be crucial to them. They need to know how people react to a price drop, or not a price drop, a cash drop, or you know, things like the IPD promo. How do individual traders or different populations of traders react? Some people won't do anything differently. Some people will completely change their philosophy and panic sell just to change their portfolios. And so this would have been crucial, and yet it clearly wasn't prioritized. So that's been my biggest disappointment. I said a few weeks back that, looking back, I feel they've generally done more right than wrong, and I still stand by that. I still think they've done very well to get to this point, and they seem to, whether by luck or design, fail upwards a lot of the time, where I think the concept of the product is still so strong. They're very good at attracting seed investment. So lots of people believe in this, that I still ultimately think one way or another they will find a way of sorting this, because it's in their interest as much as it is in ours. But my God, they've done a lot of them. They've fucked up a lot of things. But anyway, I need to go soon because I need to get back to work. But I would just, one final plug on the Simon Sinek video. I'd encourage people to watch that. It's very good.
The one last thing I'd say before you go, Divi, is,
Yeah,
is it necessarily in their interest? Because do they have to care? Because now that they've removed all the liabilities around the instant sell, they have a absolute wad of cash that they could just walk away with tomorrow by shutting the whole thing down. So,
well, yeah, but you're, but it goes back to this is my point about the ambition of the platform. If they really were thinking like, fuck it, I can't be asked to do any more work, we're happy with what we've got, they could have kept the instant sell model, because they had a market base that was a profitable model. They were had a good churn of profit. I've got no concept of what their annual profit was, but let's say that the old model made them, I don't know, 500,000 a year, million a year, or something like that.
yeah.
And then it might grow a bit over time. They've got the option of taking that to different markets, but it's a steady model that will grow 1 million a year. They have thought, if we can break into the trader market, we can make 10 million a year. That's their mindset. And that's why they've done this, because they've thought 1 million's not enough for us. We want 10 million. We want 100 million. So that's why they've been greedy. And in a sense, it's like the Gordon Gekko thing.
Greed is good.
Greed isn't a bad. Yeah, greed is good, because at least we know that they want to do. They're not going to cash out. They want to make huge amounts of money with this. My suspicion was beyond this. I think they had two plans. I think one was going to be a heavy marketing to that trader market, which they can't do at the moment. They can't bring people in because people. I've seen this on the timeline. People saying they're lowering the prices so market makers will come in. And traders will come in. No, they won't. Market makers aren't coming in because at the moment, the customer base has lost value, lost faith in the product. So a market maker will only come in if they've got faith in the product. So this isn't helping their recruitment of market makers, just as it won't be helping their recruitment of traders. I think there are other, because I've been looking at where they've been pushing for investment, and they've been getting investment from the States. So I've got no evidence of this. I haven't read anything about this apart from knowing that they've got investment from the States. But I'm thinking, if I'm Adam Cole, where do I take this? I know it's been Germany's been talked about. The biggest sports gambling market in the world, I'm pretty sure, is America. Their gambling market in terms of fantasy, daily fantasy, in football, in American football, I should say, baseball, basketball, is massive. I play. I'm a big NFL fan. I play fancy NFL. I love it. And their kind of investment in stats and fantasy games is just a different level to anything we have in football. A different level. If they broke that market, that would dwarf what Football Index is. Absolutely dwarf.
It absolutely would, but isn't. Well, two things on that. One, isn't the reason why we're not in the US is because the US regulatory market around sports betting is incredibly complex, an incredibly closed book, which is why you have these sort of weird fantasy leagues. And I think, as I understand it, most of these fantasy leagues are more in office, under the table type draft things where it's all off the table because it's difficult to get any kind of professional license to do anything in the States.
No, you could still, so you can use kind of ESPN and the official NFL app to host financial payments. So they won't. So in that case, they won't make the payout themselves. Right. People will buy into the league and bet against each other. But then you have daily fantasy. So DraftKings is one of the more high-profile ones that will do. It's essentially playing fantasy, but I think SportsStat do something similar, where you pick a team for a weekend, and everyone gets points. And I think because of the nature of their sports, because football's a bit more black and white in terms of how you score players, whereas over there you've got how many yards someone gain or how many catches to make, etc. So there are more kind of marginal, additional points people can add. But I think if I'm Adam Cole, that's my long-term goal, and I wouldn't worry about that as a Football Index investor, because they need Football Index to be their case study. They need this to be flying to the point where they don't have to manage it particularly closely anymore, so that they can then market it to other markets and say, this is what we've got in the UK. Let me come and build this for you over here. So my thinking is they got completely ahead of themselves. They thought the transition to order books would be easy. They completely underestimated the liquidity issue. They were already looking at these new markets and overseas markets, and suddenly all of that has been pulled down because they've suddenly we've clearly the market's not been able to adapt as quickly as they thought. And I imagine there are a lot of plans being torn up right now because they've realized, okay, this has set them back probably 2-3 years or something in what they were hoping to achieve.
And does it not limit, because again, America is very much more NFL, baseball, is there the market? I get the Germany market because they are very football, and there is obviously 80 million odd people that live in Germany that would, probably more than that actually, that would be an option to go after in the same way you got something in the UK, because the problem we've had so far in the UK is all these markets we have got in Canada and New Zealand stuff, they're such small fry in the grand schemes of the UK market that it's really just...
Sorry, I should say, no, I'm not saying you bring in America to the football index. I'm saying they take the platform and make an NFL index.
Right, so yeah.
So you might get a few American customers for this and they'd add a bit, but no, I'm saying they create a completely different sport. And I can't stress, I don't think this is a bad thing. I want to be part of an ambitious company because otherwise there is always that fear that they'll just kind of give up. I want people to be aiming for this, for the sun. But I think they're now realizing that all of these grand plans, I think they probably thought 2020 we'll get order books in, job done. 2021 we'll start getting the high net worth individuals in. 2022 will be in America. And forget that now. Forget it. This is set. They've mismanaged this, and it's going to set them back a couple of years. And as long as the sooner they realise that, the sooner they start diverting money that was set aside for those other projects, the better we'll all be.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that's why it's taking so long, because they're really reluctant to do that. They've been hoping for the best, hoping that these minor tech fixes will sort things out. LP001 might step in, because I imagine at the moment they're quite reluctant to put much more money in. So I think that the longer time goes on, I don't have any concerns about FI's cash balance. The longer time goes on, they will just be having to divert money away from other projects to fix this. And it's just, they've been reluctant to do that. But, ultimately the market's going to force its hand.
Sorry, I'm just celebrating because Guerrero's been subbed off in like the 85th minute. So I might get my Kurt Zuma dividends.
Right, Frog, are you on as well?
Yeah,
I'm here, man. I've been here. I've been sitting patiently.
Oh, sorry, pal.
Guys, the longest you'll ever keep me quiet.
Right, guys, I've got to go anyway because I need to go back to work.
Cheers, Divvy. Have a good one, mate.
All right,
take care, both. Bye.
Take care, mate.
Go on then. Do you want to talk?
No, it's just well, there's so much you guys were speaking about there. It's kind of all goes. It's like my drunk tweets the other weekend. There, he wanted to be a billionaire, but he wanted it too quick. He wanted to run before he could walk, and it's all this sort of shit. Like I just want to touch on, like, I think British morale in the comments, and you guys have been speaking on. They're talking like, and we hear it every day. We hear about this whole, they want to attract, actual traders. Like for me, it's a crockish. Like it's bollocks. I don't understand. Like I don't understand how you have, like, if you don't have like a huge number of your average punters, like where does I don't get where the foundations are for what you're trying to build. Like you just want to flip, you want to build yourself as a gambling platform that offers something different, then overnight just attract all these high net wealth individuals. It's a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense. I don't buy any of it at all. Like and then the flip side is, well, not flip side, but the other part of that is, you want to attract all these, you say you want to attract these high net worth individuals, professional traders, blah blah blah, but then you have a platform that doesn't even fucking work. like who's going, like, who with any real amount of money is going to put it into this right now? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get the whole, it's like Divvy said it. I've said it for ages. They want to be something that they just don't need to do. I don't think, you know what I mean? It's just a madness. It really is a madness to me.
Yeah. I mean, the problem we've got as well is that because obviously the stock market has absolutely gone through the floor, any of those sort of traditional large big money investors are just looking at that and going, well, that's where the money's going at the moment, because I know the value of that. I understand that market, and it's tanked and it will come back up. Whereas they'll look at the index and going, well, it's tanking. Well, that's a failed experiment. That's game over there, isn't it? So are we going to be attracting these big, big money people into the index? And I don't know. Even if we do, I don't think they're going to be closing in the spreads or looking to bid at market value. They're going to be looking to cut the sharpest deal they possibly can, aren't they? They're going to be looking to undercut the market every opportunity to get a bargain.
But surely, if you're going to attract these people, you still want to keep attracting your average Joes. I can go and invest in anything. I'm not a professional trader. You know what I mean? Like, you still, any market needs a good base, like a good base of, just, like normal average people. Like, that's what we are, like, in the most part. I don't get this whole talk about moving towards being professional traders and stuff. I just, like, maybe I'm missing a trick on something, but it makes so little sense to me, like, as in terms of a direction to go in. Like, I don't get it. I'll touch on the America thing. I'm intrigued by that, because, like, from the fantasy side of it, there is a fairly, massive fantasy game market over there. But the flip side of that is, like, I played a lot of poker. I made a lot of money playing poker until they banned the Americans, basically. Then it got a lot harder. And, till that day came. And then, like, obviously with Full Tilt Poker and the scandal with that and everything that followed from that, they basically stopped it because there was too much money leaving the States.
Yeah.
So I guess if it's like an American only thing that keeps the money within the country, then then that probably has a lot more scope. But in an international context, I don't see anything like that. So I don't think it would make any difference to us. Obviously, the bigger the index grows, and if the more profitable the index is, my only fear is they'd go over there and they'd forget about us.
Well, and that's the big risk, isn't it? Is that they launch NFL index or whatever, that takes off, and this is just the forgotten platform with, like, one monkey turning the wheel, because they're going to keep it turning for as long as they can. But there's no further development of the platform or further efforts and stuff. I mean, the Germany expansion to me is more interesting, but that one, I don't know if that will be pooled liquidity or if that will be a independent one. This is one that's been on the cards for like 2 years now, so don't expect it anytime soon.
No, we don't know, do we?
But I've got a mate who lives out in Germany now, and I was saying to him, like, you keep your eye out for Fußball Indexo or whatever the hell it is in German, and you let me know the second that comes in, and I'll transfer you like 30 grand, and we'll start buying the right players, because I'll tell you exactly how it's going to play out. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet, and it'll be very interesting if they do launch in Germany. If it was an isolated market they launched in Germany, whether they launched that with order books outright, or whether they started back at the beginning of the FI journey with instant sell, or if they just went straight to order books. Because what Divi was saying was, if they had their time again, starting with order books would probably have been the best way forwards, because everyone would have understood how that market operated, and they wouldn't have had this market shock from the transition.
Yeah, but there's obviously a massive disconnect between this apparent second fastest growing tech company and their ability to produce tech at the right times, or to deadlines, or to like, I don't understand. Okay, if they've been planning towards moving towards order books, why have they not been making order books for the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Why was it all of a sudden, okay, as soon as Akash got the job, we're going to make a matching engine? Oh, we're just going to make it now. Like, I just don't get it. Like if this has always been your end game, to move towards order books, take away IS, take away liabilities, then why have you not been building this? Like, I've seen loads of tweets and everything. Like, you can go to someone and ask them to build you a platform, and it'll take a couple of weeks or take a couple of months. These guys have had years. Like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah, absolutely.
And folk go, well, NASDAQ. Well, like, as far as I can see, as far as I'm here, NASDAQ is basically, it's like the front end IPO and like the back end matching side of it. It's not like we're going to go from on this big magical switch over to a new platform. That's, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to be what I've been hearing of late from like correspondence between people directly and FI. So like, I know we're getting a lot of contradictory information, but that seems to be what I'm hearing lately. So I don't know. I don't know. I was pretty calm until that. I don't know why I'm getting all worked up.
You're getting worked up, mate, because I'm going to win Kurt Zuma dividends today.
Oh, fucking Kurt Zuma. Oh, I was good. I should have had Dibby there about Ronaldo. Like, we were having our big Ronaldo chats the other day. Is he still top? Is Ronnie still top?
He's dived out before we could get back into the Ronaldo debate.
Yeah. And then you see the other thing that I was going to say to him, we were talking about Odegaard, and Real Madrid started a 4-2-3-1 with Odegaard in the 10. And he'd saying the other day that, oh, they don't play that. That was funny. That made me laugh. I don't think it made much of a difference.
So I was going to quickly just show off the old, where is he? Where's Kurt Zuma? Come on, Zuma.
If there he is. The British Morale's talking about the cell queue. Okay, the whole cell queue system was like it was flawed in itself. Like, you know, like the way that it worked out. I don't want to return to that, but I really want to touch on this whole, like, you know, it's a bit like we spoke the other day about like this whole credit idea for like essentially dead money that's sitting around in ports. And like it's really got to me this week, just the more I think about it, how they ripped away instant sell from us, and they've screwed us by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, any okay, maybe it's 2020, maybe it's COVID, but I would have expected that they would have said, okay, at some point they would have said, okay, we're moving to either NASDAQ or we're moving to full order books, just, you know, themselves. IS will go at this point. And then that gives you a chance to like make decisions on which players you think are suitable, as like Divvy was saying, for the new system. And there's people sitting with a port full of players that, you know, they might never sell ever.
See, this is the thing, right? Is they started talking about order books. God, it must have been like start of 2019 or something like that. It started to be talked about, and there were a lot of people in the community that were banging on about how this was going to take platform to a new level, and it was the best thing sliced bread. And at the time, it just made me feel incredibly uncomfortable and incredibly worried. And I couldn't put my finger on why, because I didn't understand enough about it. I didn't understand how it all worked at the time. And basically, I said, right, it's time for me to cash out. So I took all my cash out and left the index. So I went, I don't understand this. Everyone seems to think it's amazing, but I think it's going to be nuclear apocalypse. This can't be right. I don't get it. I need to go. Because if I don't understand an investment, I leave. And basically, since then, I've started doing my accountancy qualification. And I've started to understand how all of these things work. And I'm like, I was right to be terrified, because there was only one way it was going to ever play out. I don't understand why these people thought it was going to be the most amazing thing ever, because it just wouldn't.
But do you not think that's part of the, like, I see what you're saying. You're not alone. There's other people that pulled their money out before. I was told by a couple of people to do it, and I didn't believe them. I was ignorant to it. I was naive to it, whatever you want to say. But would you not say that, like, it might not be just the fact that they've introduced order books, but in the way, it's more the way that they've done it, potentially?
I think it is that, but I also think that now that I understand a bit more about order books and markets and everything, because of this qualification I'm doing, that it was always going to be a horrendous shock, because of the simple thing that markets work on supply and demand. And the old model meant that the higher price a player was, the more supply there was.
Yeah, true.
That when you then move to order books,
yeah,
he becomes the most likely to be sharked down and down and down and undercut, because there will always be somebody willing to sell, because there's just so much volume in there. And now with Sancho down at, say, £6 or whatever, or £5 or wherever he's got to now, there's people now buying him at £5, so they don't care if they sell him again at £5. And it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of he's now perpetually stuck in the sub £10 market, barring some absolutely Herculean event that forces him back to 15 quid, because there's so much supply there, and there's been enough churn now at those lower values that there will always be somebody willing to sell at 5, 6, 7 quid. So how's he ever going to get back to 15? That's what I don't get.
But surely that's dependent on, like, you know, I don't know how he gets back to 15, but like the fact that he's 5 and he's returned over 3 quid in dividends, so, like, you know, he's on 50% a year. Okay, I know that was a full summer of, you know, Man United speculation. That might not happen every year. You know that there are whether he's going to replicate the dividend hauls that he's had. You know, that's a different debate altogether. But let's say, for argument's sake, that he can. Like, how can he sit at 6 quid if he's returning 3 quid a year?
I get it, yeah.
19-year-old, you know, top class footballer, you know, with, you know, 12, 15 years ahead of him, and he returned anything near, you know, 2 quid a year, 150 a year. You can't be 5 quid. But then I get your whole supply thing. So, like, how does it work? You know, like, if a player's going to return that in dividends per year, then like, he's worth a lot more, because he's able to return that in dividends. I'm not saying he will, but, you know, let's say he does.
And that's the point, is we don't really know yet, because we don't know how all these different levers are going to stretch and pull each other in different directions. At the moment, it looks like it's more in the downwards trend, but maybe, say, if the January transfer window run up, we get a lot more Jadon Sancho transfer talk and he wins it like 20 days out of 30, maybe that will start to push it the other way. There's so many things that can influence this, and it's just, I think it is a massive, massive vertical learning curve that we're all on at the moment, of trying to understand exactly how this is going to actually play out.
Yeah, I have, you know, I was thinking that it was like, you know, maybe they have like pumped the top price too much, and, like, you know, they've driven these prices up crazy high, and, you know, maybe that I did buy into that in the past weeks or so. But I've kind of changed my stance, in the sense that I think the problem's the dead money at the bottom.
Yeah,
you know, like, you know, that's what needs to be addressed. They need to give people a chance to reset their strategy. They've reset the system. Now give us a chance to reset our fucking strategy.
FI Tipster, get your backside back on this stream. I absolutely do still need you on here. We can make Frog shut up. He just needs to be asked politely.
I'm not even being bad today. Anyway, before you guys kick me off the stream, I have to say something.
I'm never kicking you off, mate. I'm keeping you here because you are a
okay.
godsend.
Oh, sorry. Or mute me then. Mute me. Sorry. Mute me till you need me. Yeah, like, in all the shit that we've been witnessing, and all the depression and sadness and anger and frustration and everything that's gone on today, or this week, last week, isn't that Trump video the greatest creation that you've ever seen?
Well, I haven't seen this one yet. Where is it?
Do you want to show like I don't know.
Send me the link and I'll put it up.
Okay, hold on. Oh my God, it is the greatest thing you will ever watch. Like, whoever, the guy that made it, the girl, whoever made it, is an absolute genius. All right, hold on. Copy link. Noir.
Oh, there we go.
This is two of the best minutes you'll ever have.
What is this? Is this some kind of YouTube link?
No, it's FI Spam has made a wee parody kind of, when they pull, like with Trump, when they pull all set different words that he said to say something else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the context of it, but it's about Football Index. It's unbelievable, mate. It's just I was in tears laughing.
There we go. Where have you sent this link? Is it in these?
I've put it in your DMs on Twitter.
Oh God! See, there's so many ways that people can bloody do this stuff now. Right, where are we? DMs on Twitter. Let's have a look. Shared a tweet. Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to play that because it's I won't be able to share the sound, unfortunately. The way
okay.
I'm set up.
All right. Okay.
But
It's
share it in the chat, and people can have a look at it when they get the chance. But yeah, I'm sure there is a way to do it. But as I said, I am complete amateur. I've done this purely to give people somewhere to go and rant and vent and explode. Speaking of Tipster, do you want to? Oh, you've jumped in and out so many times. I need to keep allowing you to talk. Tipster, do you want to unmute yourself and have your say?
Hiya, lads. How's things going? You good? You both surviving?
Yeah, we're both surviving, just about.
All right.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah. Jesus, I suppose it's weird for me, lads, because I've been on here, 3.5 years. So I lived through the first crisis when they changed PB, and everybody speculated that PB was going to be driven by Kroos, and all the midfielders are going to have a huge baseline. Everyone bought them. Suddenly it turned out then the day before the rumor changed to Messi, the type players. Then it changed again. And I'll be honest, guys, I panic sold. So I sold Messi at the time. It was £2.50 and I had 1,000 of them. Jesus, I'm still crying over that. Exactly, yeah. And this is when the dividends were rubbish. Panic sold them and Neymar in the night to get on. I think it was Lukaku. And that is such a stupid move. And I don't even know why. I think he was just about to move to United. And then back on again. I lost so much money doing that. And then there was loads of other crises along the way. So I suppose I'm so used to these dips and these issues. I think something that Frog has said that's always frustrated me is the tech side. I understand exactly what he meant, because to be honest with you, if you can't even get the fundamentals right, you know yourself, lads, trying to get people to sign up, the first thing they go is it a scam? Is my money safe? Have you won dividends?
No, bloody Demiral from Juve has just knocked Juve up.
He got an assist earlier. I'm so sorry. I've been holding for him for so long. Brilliant. sorry,
For every loser, there's a win.
But you got someone for 2 years, he's good. He never wins a bloody thing. And I'll try to watch my language. I am Irish, so it is difficult, right? It's part of the vocabulary, not aggressive.
I'm the same.
That's unreal. That's brilliant. And actually, look, I know everything that Frog's saying, and I totally understand where he's coming from. I'm pissed off as well. The other way is, it's just my personality. Maybe positive side is, I think 66p. Obviously, I bought him at £1.10. I'm not going to say I'm a genius, but you buy him now at 14p, guys. You're looking at nearly a 20% return for new people coming in. And I know that's always been my thing about the index. I think the one thing people overlook is we need new users to come in. We need that new money to come in. And I don't know how they can market it at the moment. Now, personally, I trade in the stock market a lot for the last 10 years. So I actually quite like the trading part of it. But they really messed up with the way they did this transition. They overestimated their user base, or worse, arrogantly, they didn't understand it properly. It's a bit like some of the stuff that you lads have been saying. Thought that, we could just throw order books. I knew it was going to be a disaster. I think you were saying, Stuart, you're an accountant. I'm an accountant as well. So I knew myself, it's not easy even for me. And unfortunately, I have to do spreadsheets every day. I wasn't one of those 5-year-olds that got a calculator at Christmas. Like, yeah, this is for me. It's just good money, and it pays the bills and the mortgage and keeps my missus happy. So, and even for me, I was like, how's this going to work? How's it going to move? How are they going to be able to control it? I knew it was going to be a bit of a disaster. So I had about 60 grand in at one stage, and I was down to 20. I've none of my own money. I'm going to be in profit, because I agree with you, lads. Total disaster. It's such a fundamental change, and they brought it in the space of 2 weeks. That's the thing I could never understand. It just smacked panic, and maybe they just plowed through with it, because you know yourself, lads, it's like you make a mistake, you go, well, I'm in there now, I must just keep going with it. And it just felt like that to me.
Well, it's back to that whole Trump thing, isn't it? The way the world seems to be working at the moment, Trump, Boris, football index, is you shit the bed and you just own it, and you just go, I shit the bed, and isn't that amazing? That's a work of art, that shit in that bed. Rather than actually going, do you know what? That isn't very good, is it? I should probably clean that up and do something about it. That's not the world we live in at the moment. It's,
at least put a sheet over it, something. At least try to hide it. Do you know what I mean? Even get a bit of Jif out. Do you know what I mean? Anything, a little bit of bleach. But I think everything you've said. I think something that Frog said has annoyed me for a while. It's like, for me, look, I put an investment, and if it doesn't work out and I don't trade well enough, that's my fault. And I'm in the lower end of the market, so I'm particularly screwed. I'm not going to lie. But the thing that really frustrates me is the tech and the just the standard stuff that should be done. You know, it's kind of like when you look at the board, guys, because if you look at, there's some guys, I think it's one of the guys within Sporting Bet, there's some serious people on that board. There really is. And then you had Adam just flying out. So I went to the very beginning, and I remember going to a trader meeting for one of the first ones. And he was like going, oh, we can't say where we're going to open up, you know, where we're potentially going to, what territory. And then just for the crack, he just goes, Germany. Now, it was a bit of crack, and we all laughed. We're thinking, this is a massive company, and there's about 60 of us in a room. So we're all just going to run out now, buy a load of German players at the time. There's only about 6 of them, and then just sit back. You know, it was that kind of amateurish stuff that I liked, and it was organic, and it was a startup. And then they've kind of gone to the other extreme. So for me, one thing that frustrates me is the customer service. They used to be fantastic and personable. And I appreciate with volume, you can't do the same thing. But it's like they've forgotten their core principles. And it's like some consultants come in and said, right, guys, stock market, there's a gap there. Traders love football. City got loads of money. Imagine if you can grab that market and just throw it in. You've got a good fundamental base there already. And then just lash this in. And before you know, you're going to have a fantastic product you can probably sell for 100 million. And it's going to take over the market completely. Now, the reason I actually invested is because I thought they would sell it to a Betfair, or they would sell it to a Paddy Power, and they would just integrate it into their existing user base, because I always thought that would be the issue with Football Index is getting that user base, the marketing, the advertising, and I think you guys are spot on. They've gone for a stock trading platform, and no offense, they're not 212. You're a guy in the city putting in 200 grand. Are you going to put 200 grand into one footballer who could get injured overnight, rather than a company who can last for 200 years like a Pepsi, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's the complexity of this, is that yes, they, any company can go bust, because, we've seen some pretty big ones fall over the years, but in the general trend, they don't. And also they have a lifespan of, like you say, hundreds of years, not 15 years of a footballer's career. So that is quite a big delta that you've got to shift. Now, you could say that the returns are much better here. But again, it's back to, it's not guaranteed. So the way I look at it is I go, right, I'm in the stock market as well. And I go, right, Shell are a company that pay dividends every year, or I think it might be every 6 months, their cadence. Actually, they have a mid-share and then an end-of-year share. But if you look at their historical share payouts, they are pretty much bang on the exact same valuation every single time, plus or minus a little bit. So you go, right, there's a historical trend there. They're a company that's in freaking oil. They're going to be around for quite a few years to come. That's a guaranteed bet. Whereas if you look at footballers, and outside of your Messi and your Ronaldos, a few years back, who are you going to sit there and go, right, they are absolutely going to win media, they're going to win PB with absolute guarantee. I mean, look at Haaland today. Haaland's getting pimped by like 5 points from Ronaldo. So he has had an absolute worldly performance. He's bagged a hat-trick, and he's still not going to win PB. A score of 305. So, and earlier on today, barring these last games, it was going to be an incredibly low scoring PB day, because we had Zuma on 193, we had Solly March on 198, Kramaric on like 175 or something, and that was our top three. And you can see how much it's turned around in this last like 2 or 3 games. But this is the thing that frustrates people on the index, is you've got Haaland scoring a hat-trick, winning 305 points, and he's still going to not win a damn thing. So that's where this real disparity with other markets is, that you get guaranteed returns, and that's where SportsStack is gonna sort of try and push themselves as differentiators, because they're going to say, well, look, you can guarantee that this player is going to hit this peak score 5 times a season. I can't tell you exactly when that's going to be, and I can't tell you he'll be the best player on that day, but he will hit that peak score 5 times a season. So you've got a guaranteed income stream there to bet all this against. You could literally have the world's best player get pipped by 1 point every single game from now until the end of the season, because the world's most average player has the best day of his life. And that's the perverse thing about the index, unfortunately, is that it is, down to, he's got 4 in the end. Sorry, last time I heard he had a hat trick. So yeah, he's bagged 4 today, and he's still not going to win dividends.
Crazy. You're right. You're so right. And another thing, not to be boring accountant, but another big thing is, like, if anyone follows stock markets, is Warren Buffett, and it's all about the effect of compounding. And the thing you mentioned about Shell is your £100 to begin with, and you get £7 dividends. It then is dividends on the 107, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. The great thing is the football index is great when I first started, because I could flip a player and I would compound those returns. But as you said, you could be waiting. All right, that guy, Demerlay, I've been waiting 18 months. Fantastic, and I got a great return now, but how much opportunity cost have I lost? Whereas I would have had guaranteed dividends. And that's the issue. It's the risk reward as well. I will be honest though, guys, I don't know what your opinion is, but if these prices keep coming down, so I've taken some money out of the stock market to actually go back into football index, because the yields are looking so good. I bought Kimmich this morning for £3.86, and I worked out that it would be 7% return on a gold win for Kimmich. Like that's if it gets to around 10% on a goal win for any of those kind of players. Again, going back to your analogy, Stuart, where I would call them a shell. I'm not saying he is guaranteed, but there's a higher possibility. He's already returned 55p in dividends this season already before his injury. The yields are going to be massively attractive. The one thing I would say to everybody, and I think it's something the Frogs mentioned about, NASDAQ's not going to solve everything. Also market makers as well. People, I believe, I could be wrong, looking at the timeline, believe a market maker is going to come in and buy Kimmich for £3.80 and hold them for the next 20 years. No, they're going to come in, they're probably going to set a price that they want an exit point, like 40%, and sell them at £5. There'll still be volatility even with market makers in the index and in the system. I hope people don't believe that then we're just onto rockets. And I think I've also worried about this rocket stuff as well. Like, it's not natural, it's massively inflated, it's a startup. I won't go down the whole Sancho debate because I was never a big fan, but I knew that was unsustainable. It was massively unsustainable. And it was just too much of a disparity. And just based on, again, I'm being boring, but just based on yields, like, it's all about fun. I'm very instinctive, and I love the crack of the index. Like tonight now, lads, only for I'm on, I'd be screaming the house down. They'd probably have to call the police, because I can't believe I've robbed those dividends after holding them for 18 months for Demerlay. And that's the great fun about the index as well, that it's, if they're going down the trading route, it's hard to get that. That's the core of the product. And they've taken a lot of lads who like to do ACCAs and they like betting. And I'll be honest, guys, the one that's heartbreaking is the amount of people that said it saved me from a gambling problem, or I really loved the index because it changed my mindset and I was more long-term rather than short-term, driven. And it's that kind of customer base that they really underestimated their knowledge of trading. And I don't know if it was deliberate. I think it was just ineptitude. There's been lots of things that just ineptitude. It's like the comms, and there's been some great stuff on Twitter, but I love good communication. But you know yourself, lads, if someone says thank you to you 50 times in a row, it loses its power. If you do this at comms twice a day, once I used to be like, oh, I can't wait, there's going to be some amazing offer, there's going to be a great new, update. Like, I would love in the next week to go, right, as you said, Stuart, hands up, we got certain things wrong, it is salvageable. And that's the first thing I did say in the chat. The great thing for me is it's in their interest to keep this product going. Now, something you said interesting tonight, Stuart, I think you were thinking, have they made enough money that they can wind down the product? It's not something I had thought of, because I just thought instinctively for the reputation and greed, and he's more entrepreneurial. For Adam Cole, I can't see him wanting to do that after putting his name front and center to the product. What does worry me is he really has not been on Twitter at all. And maybe that's been deliberate, but that's a slight worry for me. I don't know what you guys think. Sorry.
That has been deliberate. He said after the fiasco with the Q&A, he said he won't be on Twitter again. That's all comms will come through official channels from that point on. So in terms of should he be on to deal with this shit show, possibly. quite possibly.
I know
But-
he's Marmite, but do you know what I mean? At least there's something personable. I think it's become so corporate and detached now, some of these comms, that's what's pissing people off. It's lost that kind of personal touch where there was the owner that drove the business, good or bad. I'm not here to defend him or say he's done a great job either, because some of his stuff was outrageous, like 1 billion. When was that 1 billion mentioned? It was about 9 months ago, mental. But at the same time, there was something personal then. Like if you go on to the CS as well, it's like, we understand. It's a bit like ringing up BT when they don't,
It's bullshit,
you're
innit?
interested. Yeah, it really
bullshit.
doesn't help. It's not the time for corporate stuff. Now it's time for, here's a roadmap, guys. We've got these things wrong. This is how we salvage it. And again, guys, I definitely think it's salvageable, because how many people have stuck with it?
Going back to what you're saying though, like I am literally, hold on, sorry, 2 seconds. I'm literally a poster child. I'm the poster child for the former problem gambler that was saved by Football Index. I had some very good times when I was betting on football, but I had struggles with my mental health and my depression and stuff. And my way of venting was I wouldn't turn to the drink or anything. And despite what you think of me with all the drinking talking I do, like it wasn't me turning to the drink. What I would do is, like, if I'd had a month of making good money, I could like blow it all in one night betting on football. You know what I mean? And
I like my
index,
bet as well, Frog. I totally know.
But the index changed all that. The index changed everything, and that was their whole slogan. The game changed. So, like, this is the whole way they've built themselves is to tap into a £15 billion a year UK alone gambling market. Like, I don't get why we need to go the trader side. Like this could just work. Like I just think Adam Cole's dreams are seriously disconnected to what's best for Football Index. And like you could say, if they did manage to set themselves up in a position where they were attracting like high net worth individuals or professional traders, but then it goes back to my point earlier, like they're never going to do that with the shit show of tech that they do. So like why don't they just I don't know, like I want to touch on something else before I might need to go soon, but I've spoke to you on and off for a while now, and I know you kind of target the lower end, and do you not feel that like you've just been totally screwed? Do you not feel like you, 1 minute you were able to buy these players with an out, and now you can't? Do you not think that it was ripped away from you and never to be returned? Do you not think that's just the most ridiculous thing ever?
Can I be honest? I think if you asked me 3 months ago, incredibly angry. But can I be honest with you as well, Frog? I've done a bit of soul searching and I've looked at it myself. Some of the trades that I bought at that lower end, Jesus Christ, I don't know what was in my head. Honestly, like I really don't know. And some of it, yes, I agree, and I do agree with you. It's not fair. It is a fundamental change in what I signed up for. But at the same time, Frog, some of these players I was buying, I was doubling my money, and I got very lucky. So I've kind of, it's kind of like I've made my peace with it, because of course I was incredibly angry. Like I'll be honest, when they brought that in during COVID, and just suddenly I couldn't liquidate any of the assets that I had, and I didn't just buy rubbish. But what I mean, guys, is like I bought Sahin because I liked him when he was at Liverpool, and then he went to Werder Bremen. I thought, oh, he'll dominate there, and he had 2 good games, and then I bought like 1,000 of them. And I was just thinking, well, that's just bad trading. There's no point me lying.
Yeah.
I'd maybe buying 100, maybe 150 to hedge a bit and then hedge somewhere else. But I didn't. I just thought, you know what? And also the instant sell made me a little bit lazy, because it's like, you know what? I can always get out. It's worth the risk at 5 to 10%. So you're spot on, Frog. I definitely was incredibly angry. I didn't think it was fair. But then at the same time, some of the players I bought were very poor trades that I need to take personal responsibility for myself. That's not me saying everybody else, because there's some great young players around 40p that could be amazing, that still could be, but you're going to be held with them for 3 to 4 years just because they've changed the principle. The one that I really hate, guys, is you used to be able to buy on IPO and it wouldn't dip underneath the IPO price. That really pisses me off. That's the most disingenuous thing for me, because the whole point was that was a big floor and a base. And there's one thing I meant to ask you guys. I don't know if you noticed Sancho today, the circuit breaker went at £4. Does that mean that's his new low point, that the circuit breaker won't go below?
No, for me, the circuit breaker is when it's 20% movement, because when they were announcing those circuit breakers on the first day, Football Index customer services were validating them as they were being announced by people. And when you looked at the players, the percentage drip in 24 hours, it was 20%. So they were all like 21%, 20%.
It's not been happening
territory.
all the time, though.
No, and I think it is being done on a player by player basis, because again, if you looked at the ones in the top 200, they flipped at the 20% point, because there was only 3 or 4. The only one that might not have done was Griezmann, because he did go 20%. I didn't see any validation that his circuit breaker had flipped. But if you looked at the rest of the market, I forget what we call it now.
A squad, is it?
The one that's at the squad list, yeah. So there was a whole bunch of people at like 50, 60% drop in 24 hours. And I didn't see any talk about circuit breakers in the squad list being validated by customer services. So,
and can I just say that feeds into what Frog says? I think that's disgraceful, that it's manually having something that's so fundamental on the market is manually validated by someone, probably on a screen flashing up with an exception point, and probably didn't have time to go the whole way down. Now that again, I must say Frog is right. I think the tech's always something that annoys me, because that can be fixed. You know, if I make a bad trade, that's up to me. But remember, that thing is something's gone wrong. How ironic was that message that kept coming up? That used to do my head in, and that I remember going on Twitter saying that would stop me trading. I hate stuff like that, and that kind of feeds into, geez, it's right when it's great listening to you guys as well, because unfortunately I'm so positive by nature. Unfortunately, you try to just block other stuff out, but actually you're talking sense, because what Frog just said 30 minutes ago, and you as well, Stuart, is the fact that you want to market this to city traders, yet you can't get the basic tech right. I think that's just arrogance or incompetence, or a mixture of both. And it is a dangerous combination with the amount of money that people have in the platform. That's also not to be forgotten either. There's a lot of people with livelihoods. There's a lot of people that have overextended themselves. Personally, I from my own point of view, is I take personal responsibility for some of the bets that I look at it as an investment or a bet that's gone wrong. And I have to live with that now, and because there was a lot of reward that I received as well, and I'm lucky. But that's just me, not saying for everybody else.
It's very philosophical of you, and it's very. And I'm pretty chilled about some of what I would probably call as on the surface as bad bets right now, because there was reasoning behind those buys, and pretty much every player I buy, I'm buying in the context that I believe can win PB at some time. I look at my port now and I'm like, well, maybe it'd be good. But I still think I keep going back. I don't think it's a bad bet argument though. I just think that we should have been given a window to readjust our strategies prior to losing instant sell. That, to me, not giving us that opportunity is, it's unforgivable in my opinion.
So guys, just quickly, while now the Man United game is finished, I'm just going to go back over something that I talked about right at the beginning of the stream, because I'd love to get your guys' view on it as well now that you're on. So this is something that I put out on Twitter today, and something that I'm trying to explain to people about how market forces are meaning that anytime that we are cutting each other's throats by lowballing the bids and instant selling, we are damaging the market for all of us. So what we've got here is, on the left-hand side, we've got a total market value of £3,000, let's say, and it's made up of 4 players: Sancho, Kimmich, Salah, and Gnabry, owned by 4 different traders. So they all own 100% of one player. What happens here is Trader 2 decides he's going to put 750 quid into the market, and he's going to offer to buy Sancho at £7.50 a share. And Trader 1 decides he's had enough of the Sancho journey, he's going to sell at that £7.50 and sells the full 100 to Trader 2. Trader 1 then takes that 750 quid that he's just made, and he goes and buys some Gnabry and Salah off of Traders 3 and 4 at £2 a share instead of the £3.75 they bought it. So how that then plays through onto the right-hand side is the restabilized view of the market. So we've got the 100 Sancho at £7.50, and the box is adjusted in size to how much he's worth. The 100 Kimmich at £7.50, the 100 Salah at £2 and the 100 Gnabry at £2. and who owns them and everything else. And then we also have some money in the wallets now, because some of that money is transitioned out of the player ownership into wallet value. Now, this is where everything gets perverse, and this is why the whole thing is so complicated and difficult to understand and fucked up at the moment, is that Trader 2 has put £750 into that market. So you'd think that the end market value would be 3,750 quid because somebody's put 750 on top of the £3,000, but the market is now worth 2,650, including the wallet value. So we've lost 350 quid and the 750 that guy's put in. And the reason why that's happened is because that 15 quid a share was paid to Football Index and they've taken the instant share away. He is now only worth what people are paying for him. And so because that guy, Trader 1, has lost £7.50 per share, that market money has effectively left the overall Football Index economy. So we've now lost £750 from the Football Index economy. He's then taken that £750 quid he had left over and again undercut people to buy Salah and Gnabry, and that 350 quid lost there has then also left the Football Index economy. And that's why we've ended up losing overall, is because all of this undercutting doesn't mean anyone wins. And I've seen people on Facebook saying, that's not how this works. I've now magically got a player worth 15 quid, so I've got that £7.50 back in my pocket. That's not how it works. He's not worth 15 quid anymore. The only way he gets back to 15 quid is by, say, £2 million of new money entering the Football Index economy to push him back to 15 quid. And that doesn't mean that you've magically made some money on this invisible money tree that doesn't exist. It means that real money has come into the market to push it back up. So this is the thing. Every single time you are lowballing bids and every single time you are accepting instant sell, you are stripping money out of the economy, which means there's less money there to go back in to buy the other players that you want to sell. So you're actually hurting yourself by lowballing bids in the long run. That's the thing that people 100%. Need to understand.
Sorry, John Frog wants to go first, but that's excellent.
No, on you go, mate.
That's excellent, to be honest with you, Stuart. And we have to accept responsibility for that. It's that race to the bottom. And it's like, and then it's on the timeline. I got a massive bargain, and then people going, God, well, I don't want to look like I've overspent. It's just human nature. The other thing as well, guys, while all this is going on, and something because I like to flip players, it's 4% that Football Index is making now, because there's 2% on either side. So all the time that's happening as well. And then it's a race down because Jesus, now he's gone down to £1.50. I'll keep, loads of people in the timeline being very clever going, oh, well, actually, I'm selling today because I'm going to buy him for £1.20. Well, it's a self-perpetuating thing. If you just continually do that, it's just going to continually drive down the market. And you're right, Stuart. I don't know how I've been trying to get that across to people. It's what is a fair value for a player, not you can get a 10p cheaper. Because the next person's going to do 10p and 10p. And before you know, we're in the situation we're in now. And really good information, guys. I didn't know about the circuit breaker being 20%. So that's actually really interesting. And also that's manual. That's not even automatic.
Well, surely, how can it be manual?
I think it's automatic. What I say by the validation was basically there were people sending screenshots of the little red card symbol that you get now.
Right, I get you. Right.
To Football Index CS. And they were then saying, yes, we can confirm that this player has been put on
a circuit breaker, right?
Circuit breaker, yes. So
how do you stop that, Stuart? How do you think, and Frog as well, how do we stop that mindset of people? Because it's human nature to want to get something for cheaper and cheaper and not to overpay. I don't know how we change it.
You can't, except through education. And it is, well, do you know what? I was sitting there in the bath earlier today, lovely mental image for all of you guys out there. and the only thing I was thinking is like, the only way you can try and get away from that is almost like a Football Index charter that we as the community draw up amongst ourselves of, I promise that I shall not lowball, other traders. I promise that I shall not instant sell barring emergency funds needed to help my personal life. Like the 10 commandments of Football Index or whatever that we all live by. But, like I said, I'm showing people here with these graphics as to how I best understand this situation. And it seems that the majority of people tend to agree that I've worked it out correctly and I'm in the right state of mind. But there are still plenty of people that are willing to argue with me and just outright call it flat out wrong. You don't understand how this works. You're completely wrong. There's this imaginary, invisible pool of money that sits there that somehow people are going to gain access to at some point if we remove all the sell orders, or if we do this, that, the other behavior. And that mentality can't be shifted because these people aren't willing to engage in debate. So go on.
Can I ask you a question? Like, am I understanding this right? So basically, they've created a system that's built essentially like what folks say, like a bull market, where everything's growing. And Sancho did go to £15, and prior to the share split, like Pogba or whoever it was went to 27 or whatever it was. So they've had these systems in place that have created these price rises to these points. Now they've flipped the switch, and we are where we are. And that £15 Sancho is getting sold for £7.50. They're taking that £7.50, yeah?
Football Index took that money when they took away instant sell. That money is...
But that £7.50 is clear. That's clear profit for them now. It's not traded anymore, yeah?
It's not even that it's that point. It's that they
when the 15s when it's the initial purchase, is it?
Yeah. When the initial purchase, that 15 quid went to Football Index at that point. Now they were still liable for say £14.50 of it because they had the instant sell. But the moment they switched off instant sell, they removed all of their liability, and that money, that valuation ceased to be a thing. So at the point they turned off instant sell, there was no longer a hard-coded valuation for Sancho. There was just what people had historically paid. And then there was a bit of limitation in the sense that you could only offer to sell him at a certain value, you could only offer to buy him at a certain value. But obviously you could cascade that through a series of trades to lowball him. As we saw on Black Sunday, how quickly he dropped to a much lower level. And that's the point, is people don't understand this disconnect between he had a fixed value that was £15. He no longer has that fixed value. He is now worth whatever the highest thing that somebody's willing to bid for him. And that is currently around the £5 mark. And the only way he gets back to 15 quid is through sheer volume of demand, forcing him up the demand curve to the point where he hits 15 quid value. And that is going to require immense demand because there is more supply of him than anyone else, because he was the most traded player. So there are more shares in Sancho than any other player on this index. So he has required the biggest push to get him to the highest value.
What do you think? What do you think the lack of foresight? Like, there's some very intelligent people with lots of money in these big players. You know what I mean? There's the guys out there that have, been very successful in other walks of life, and they've come to this. They didn't foresee this. I know some people did. Stuart, you said yourself you did. I know other guys that said to me over the past months that they were getting out because they didn't like the path that this was going. So there's people that did see this. Vespasian, obviously, he's the one that's been all over Twitter multiple times saying that it wasn't going to work this way, or the transition wasn't going to work. So like these guys that have 10,000, 20,000 Sanchos or whatever, like what did they expect to happen? Because these people understand order books and stuff as well, so they must have known that there was like potentially negative. Did they just expect that liquidity would come in with it, that would counter the drops? Like what were they thinking to not be worried about what was going to happen?
The thing about it is that when the sun is shining and everything is going great, it's very easy to forget about risk, and it's very easy to not use all the knowledge that you possibly have at your availability. And bear in mind, I said at the start that I got out because I felt that I didn't understand why everyone thought it was great. I couldn't put my finger on why it was going to go wrong because I didn't have enough knowledge at the time. And my policy on all things, if I don't understand something, I leave that trade. I leave that investment. And so I left because I didn't understand why everyone thought order books would be so great, because I couldn't get my head around it. It wasn't because I could prophesize that it was definitely going to go wrong. It was just that I didn't understand it. And I think that there's been a lot of people who have kind of seen the money just grow and grow and grow, and they had a degree of arrogance and overconfidence about the whole thing. Same way FI have had. in the sense that they just couldn't see how it could possibly go wrong or how it could possibly drop. You know, Sancho was this immense talent. He had all the summer of like dividends and everything else. How could he possibly drop to £5? Who's going to, you know, you were saying earlier, like if he's earning like £2 a year in dividends, surely he's worth more. But it's all about this supply and demand thing, which is just, there's so much more supply of him than anyone else. And this is the really perverse thing about this transition, is that the people that are worth the most at the point of it now have so much more supply than demand, because they were at the highest points. They're the lower, you know, the more somebody you have to pay for them, the less demand there is for them. It's just natural way of supply and demand works. And there is more supply of them than anyone else. So that is just naturally going to push prices down. And I understand that now, because I've started to do an accounting qualification, and that's module 1 of the most basic module is supply and demand mechanics. So go and look it up and have a look, and you'll start to get a bit of a better idea about how all of this works. I'm just going to pause and let Football Index in, because he's been sitting on the chat for quite some time, very patiently, very quietly. So welcome to the stream, mate. What have you got to say?
Yeah, cheers, Stuart. And thanks for having me on. I think I've been listening, as you say, listening patiently. I didn't want to jump in having not got the background to the call. So yeah, no, I completely agree with kind of all the points that have been made. And for me, over the past kind of two or 3 months, or since order books have been introduced, I think there's been a bit of a story in the sense of, at first you kind of try and stay rational, you try and stay positive and think to the longer term at how you believe in the product. For me, it then got to the kind of frustration stage where you're kind of, you're getting frustrated at Football Index. Why didn't they deliver on their promises? Why was this badly implemented? And then kind of over the last week or so, you're not on Twitter or anything, but like internally, you start getting angrier, because you're thinking these guys like cost me money, albeit paper money. And then I think from today, it's kind of been that reset. And I think I woke up with the mindset of, look, this is still a trading platform, or a platform in which you can make money. And for me, I think, look, it's easy to say this. Well, I mean, I've lost thousands of pounds off my portfolio, but I think what you need to go in the mindset you need to go into this with now is like almost as a reset. So ignore your losses, ignore any profits that you've made, start again from zero. And how can you start making money on Football Index? And look, there are ways to make money. You can, like even today, like I'm sure people would have made money. I haven't actually traded today, but I'm sure you can kind of get some bids in, and people would have made money on PB.
Well, I nearly made my 12p a share on Zuma, which would have been like an immense return. But yeah, you had to bloody Demerol.
And I think don't be slagging off Demerol. He's brilliant. Sorry.
No, and I think the products change now, and it kind of goes back to an earlier point, and that they changed the risk profile of the bets. But now I don't think we're going to see the kind of the significant rises in prices based on hype, based on these young prospects. I think that's gone, certainly under the current mechanics. And I think you'll get individual rises based on player performance, but you won't get that sustained price increase over a longer period of time as things stand, until we get the liquidity, until we get more users, until perhaps they change the PB matrix and such. And I think for now, people need to kind of adjust how they're betting. Like, this isn't the same product.
I think that's a very good point, actually, because it's something that I hadn't really thought about, because it was never a market that I was particularly invested in, because I just didn't trust it. Is that there was a massive Football Index culture around young talent that, you know, that were going to be the next big thing, the next Messi, the next whatever. That you know, people like Cherky and stuff, who've been pumped to a very high value without really actually demonstrating any capacity to win dividends yet. And I'm sure they've got immense potential. As I said, I don't trade in that market. I don't understand it particularly well. I am the traditional, good old fashioned, the data tells me this guy's going to win a lot of PB territory. So that whole market has now been stripped away because you've lost that security blanket of, well, at least I've always got the instant sell to get out on this guy. So I can take the punt on him to become the next Messi because I've got an instant sell get out. And I think we've seen that on a lot of these young talent players where they are the ones who haven't got the get out clause anymore. The sell values dropped off them on the Greenwoods and the Cherkies and those types because people are now looking far more towards who is actually going to, bank me some dividends.
Yeah, exactly that. And I the thing that, going back to the frustration piece, is I put out a tweet earlier this week where it was like, yes, I'm going to stay around on Football Index. Yes, the yields are incredible, but Football Index have royally screwed over us as the existing traders, the guys that got them to where they are now. And that's the bit that doesn't sit right with me because they haven't yet acknowledged that. And I feel like for the platform to move on, for traders to move on, there needs to be that kind of hold our hands up piece. Yes, our implementation of this was shoddy, and yes, we should have done better. And also, I think the bit that kind of irks me the most is the whole kind of when people are digging up the old announcements about how they recognize that we need liquidity to come with order books, and why were those promises not delivered? As in, whoever gave the go ahead for this implementation, that is just, I don't know, I don't want to get someone to lose their job, but I mean, it's been that bad. So I think for everyone to move on, there needs to be that kind of, that bit about holding your hands up, and people need to be able to kind of heal from the losses that they've made and move on to the new system that we're in and kind of have that reset.
And that's the thing, is that I've kind of got a very privileged position in a sense, because I actually see the world from two different lenses, because I am somebody who has cashed out and taken a huge profit out of Football Index, because I cashed out back in sort of April 2019, it must have been, when I got my loft conversion done. I got Football Index to pay for my loft conversion, and I was like, that's me cashed out. I've taken my 70 grand, I'm off, sunshine. And so I had the glory days of 2017 through till then, of the immense profit rises and all the money. Then Football Index lured me back in late February time this year with a 10% deposit bonus. I was like, yeah, do you know what? I miss Football Index. I love Football Index. I'm going to come back. I'm going to go against all my judgments. I'm going to get back on it. That 10 grand is, I moved it in and out, and I was at about 8. Which was my money in. I'm down to 5 at the moment. So I can appreciate anyone that's joined the index since sort of like January this year, what journey they've actually experienced, because that's what my port looks like at the moment. My port just looks like anyone that joined in January or February or March, of what happened and what their experience is, which is just catastrophic, 40% declines, and no real sunshine or no real opportunity there. And it's really difficult at the moment, because I sit there looking at it going, right, there's got to be value, right? I'm looking at these player values and going, there must be value, but I don't have any more money that I can put into this platform, because I'm currently putting money into the stock market as well, because I'm also seeing opportunity there, and that's more bankable opportunity. And so I've got all these different investment. I also have property as well that I have to sort out. And Christ, never get yourself a property portfolio. That's the biggest fucking headache known to man. That's a whole other rant. So I have a lot of different investments, and I only have a finite amount of capital that I can put into things. And I'm a pretty well-off person. I'm quite lucky in that sense. So I have money that I can put into these things. But I've leveraged myself as far as I can go on Football Index at the moment. And I think there's a lot of people on the community now who really, if they look at it and go, look, what is the money I can afford to lose, which is how you need to be looking at this, gamble responsibly and everything. I think everyone is kind of at the point of pretty much leveraged as much as they can get. So there is only so much more liquidity that we can naturally provide at this point. Everyone that's been here a long time is as leveraged as they can get, because they've bought into the long-term quality of the product. And all the new people that are coming in are just getting torched on this horrible funeral pyre. So why are they going to put more money in? And where are we going to get new people when I mean, Christ, it's only going to be a matter of time till the I forget what the thing is called, the 5-star rating app thing that they're on.
Trustpilot.
Trustpilot is going to be lighting up with, this is a scam, it's a pyramid scheme, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's all like torch now sort of narrative, and that's going to really put off new traders and stuff. And just mates down the pub. I had a mate down the pub 2 months ago, pre-lockdown, sometime around September or whatever, going, "Oh, I've got like $5,000 lying about. You keep banging about this football index thing. Should I put my money in?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "We are heading to this point in the market. It is going to crash. This is the worst time to get in." And he said, "All right, I won't bother then." And I met him in the pub like 2 weeks later, and I went, "It's a good job we didn't get him, because the market crashed 20% on Black Sunday." So it's one of those things of, I think there's a lot of people now who are also got friends that are asking about this platform, that are going to have to, in their heart of hearts, say, I can't do this. It's just, I'm putting people at risk if I'm plugging this market at the moment.
Stuart, do you think that, see, personally, I have no worries about the next 2 years financially for Football Index, because they've taken their whole liability away. I know people are worried about all the dividends they're paying out, but from my point of view, just looking at it, like you said, and I think Frog mentioned about Sancho, all that liability has gone away. It's all off their balance sheet. So any cash in hand is cash in hand. Marketing probably will be put off. I assume lots of people on furlough, as will be happening anywhere else. But by the looks of some of the tech and some of the CS responses, let's say it does survive, let's say for another 2 years, 3 years. Do you not think that there's some really good opportunities at the moment, or is it just my mentality of looking for a really good yield somewhere? I'm just trying to think in my mind just as a positive thing. I personally think the index will survive. I think you guys have mentioned great points. The management is still the management. The strategy is still flawed. The implementation is not great either. The messages are still mixed. The only thing I'm clinging on to, if you're an accountant, is financially in my head. I looked at the last financial accounts, about 500,000 net assets. That's before it exploded. Now they brought in 4% commission. They don't have a liability. The liability is with us. There has to be a point, guys, where if Sancho went to £2, he could. I know people are sick of saying it can go lower. Of course, it could go to zero. But I'm just saying, yield-wise, do you guys see any ray of light, just for anybody watching that?
Sorry, I'm jumping in. Why are you saying Sancho's going to be £2 when he's returned over £2 already in the last?
No. I'm saying that the one thing I'm getting on Twitter a lot is it has to bottom out. It has to bottom out. And then obviously it keeps dripping down. So lots of people are getting scared, Frog. That's the problem, because they're seeing him at 15 and it keeps going down and keep going down. I'm basically saying, I'm not saying he will go to £2. That's what I'm saying. He can't go to £2 because he'll just return that. There has to be a price point that they cannot realistically go lower than. Are we nearly there? Looking at the yields, 3-year bet, he gets £2 a year. Sancho's a bad example. Let's just say that's £6. You're still making back a good return. So I'm just wondering, as a ray of light, guys, do you think we're near that point? I still think we're 10% away, but it's just my opinion.
It's pure guesswork, isn't it?
It is, but I'm just saying, realistically, why would you sell somebody if you believe the market's going to last, an index is going to last for the next 3 years? Let's just say it's a 3-year bet. You come in, you buy him for £5. You believe, this is your valuation, that you're going to get £2 a year back in him. I'm just saying from that point of view.
Can we introduce a new rule on this stream, Stuart?
What's that?
If anyone says 3-year bet, they're banned for life. Sorry, addict. Sorry, this grinds my gears more than anything. And
absolutely
honestly,
not, Frog, because you will never change anyone's mind or never convince anyone of any.
I'm only kidding.
If you try and railroad,
guys, I don't believe in it. I don't even look at it like that, because it's not even been formally discussed. It's this thing that's thrown out on Twitter. But I'm just trying to bring it back to a positive thing. So let's just assume that it's a 3-year, but I'm not saying it is. You're making £6 back. Then in my mind, if I value Sancho, I wouldn't, like, £5 is just a baseline for me, because I know I'm going to return more in those 3 years. I'm just saying there has to get to a point where those prices are so attractive that people will not sell. It's just not worth selling.
I don't think the problem is people's like I don't think it's a valuation thing. I think what we're witnessing right now is purely just a fear thing. Like, people are genuinely scared of the path that Football Index is on. That's why people are making decisions that they wouldn't be making if they were doing it purely based on what they value the player at. Like, I genuinely think that. Like, I believe, I have faith. Like, it's horrible at the moment, but like, I do think that long term we will get there. So I can make those valuations that you speak of, but I don't know if other people can. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there that are genuinely worried, and hence why they're maybe taking prices they shouldn't be taking.
Well,
I
the
agree with you
index
there,
needs to
Frog.
come out. The big thing that annoys me is people saying the index is going to go bust, and that's why I'm trying to get my money out. I just don't believe that argument, and the index has to do a better job of coming out and financially showing how financially strong they are. Because honestly, guys, a lot of the people that DM me have got like about 5,000 followers. Most of them are going, is it going to go bust? You've been on here a while, because I said I was an accountant, because I do a couple of videos as well. And it's like, will it go bust? So I'm not a genius. I don't work for them. I could just read the stats. I can read the ratios, and I can make an informed decision. And especially since their liability's gone away, I don't think they'll have been in such a strong financial position. Remember, all the liability was on them with the IS. That's now gone. Okay, I know they've got dividends and they've increased them, but another argument around the dividends is it's not the biggest earners or the biggest shareholdings that always win. It is some lad from the French league at 42p that gets a couple of goals, as you mentioned. I hold one of them tonight. I'm not rubbing that in again. That like just came up at the last minute, and it's your argument about Haaland as well. And that's the one thing that I'm getting, guys. I'm not saying about everybody else, but any group I'm in, the big concern is this is going bust. It'll be gone in 2 or 3 months, and I'm going to lose all my money.
The absolute thing that I can absolutely like square off and explain to everyone is Football Index are currently in the strongest financial position they have been at any point in their history, because they have removed probably £1 billion worth of liabilities by getting rid of instant sell. They have also increased their income stream by doubling the commission point.
Yes.
So they now get double commission on all trades. So they have got £1 billion war chest of all the index instant sell values that they can now use to pay dividends or whatever the hell they want to do it. And every single time you sell or buy, they're getting 2%. So anytime you buy or sell a player and he hasn't returned at least 2% in dividends in that transition between you buying him and you selling, so 4%, because you the 2% on the buy and 2% on the sell.
Yeah.
So anytime he doesn't make 4% between you buying him and you selling him, they've made money. And how many players are there that are actually realistically winning dividends this season? So how much money are they making on all of these trades, on all these random players? So it is, there is just immense profit being, and that was the thing I used to say, even when instant sell existed, they had like, say Sancho at 15 quid, and they would probably have instant sell at something like £14.50. So if he didn't make 50p in dividends between you buying him from them and you selling him to another trader, or instant selling them back to him, between that and you instant selling them back to him, they have made money. And if you sold him to another trader, they made that 15 quid. They were done. They were sorted. They didn't need to worry about you instant selling it back to him at that point. So
without IPOs, without all the money from IPOs, that, and also the future money from IPOs as well that they could potentially get. That's just and minting shares. Like
minting shares. They can mint shares at any point in any player and match them at any price they want. They can print money at any point they want to.
And maybe it's been accountant. I just look at, for me, the fundamental thing is long term. And that's why when I look at the yields, and I know what you're saying, Frog, you're right. And I understand why people are scared. And if it keeps dripping and dripping and dripping, understand. But if we believe this is going to last, that doesn't fix the management. And that doesn't mean that they're going to be very successful and the comms are going to be perfect. But financially, it will be a product that should be around for the next 2 or 3 years. At least, I'm just saying at least, without, I think you guys were saying about America and all the other stuff that happen and the link ups that could happen. So if it's going to be around and the yields are good, and I'm not going to mention 3-year bet, 3 years, let's say it's going to be around for 57 years. Okay, it's better. There's definitely money to be made. And that's just what's I'm actually reinvesting. So I've taken a little bit of money out of the stock market. I've done quite well. And I put a little bit in here, because I bought Kimmage and some of the, so what I'm doing now is I've got 10 players that I'm going to hold at yields that I'm very happy with and reinvest dividends from them. And then I'm just going to flip players to try and fund those players. That it's a totally different strategy for me. I've had to, my old one was transfers, injuries, cheap end of the market, researching some young fella like Azerbaijan league that I think is going to go to the Italian league, and then 4 times the money. And I love that buzz of it. I don't get the same buzz, but financially, I've got a strategy and I can work around it. And that doesn't stop me being pissed off that they've changed everything, that I can't do the strategy I want to do. But unfortunately, that's it. It's like when the youth trend, I've never got onto that. A bit like you, Stuart, didn't understand it, didn't understand the yields involved, and I didn't have enough knowledge. And I used to get so annoyed with all this stuff on the timeline. Oh, this lad, that guy Gordon at Everton, when he like got 2 goals in a pre-season. And I've got a fella like, I think I had Ben Yedder. He's a fantastic striker. And like he got 2 goals. No one said a thing. He's a young fella, got 2 goals in a pre-season and doubled in value. And I was so annoyed. But you know, it is about adapting to the strategy if you believe it's going to progress for the future. Also, as well, for a lot of people as well, they don't like that long term. I think Frog was right when he said earlier, it has changed completely, and the mindset has to as well. And just your last caller, I think index. I think that's a great point as well. I think it is now about coming to the realization it won't go backwards. I don't think it's going to go backwards. I'm very annoyed. I feel let down like Frog does, but I still believe it's a place to make money. So I'm just trying to reprogram my brain. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I'm stuck with probably 9 grand of players that I'll probably never be able to sell now. And that is sad because some of them are quality players that, like Frog said, I bought for a reason. But it is what it is.
And this is the hilarious thing is that I talk about, I've obviously tabled a few things about IPDs lately because I think that would improve liquidity. And people seem to think that I love IPDs. I fucking hate IPDs. IPDs were literally the biggest knife in my side that I've ever experienced in Football Index because I am a sole long-term PB trader. And when IPDs launched initially, that absolutely took a stabbing to my part of the market because everyone started to move money out of that part of the market into these short-term trades, and all of the long-term market was really damaged at the point of introduction of IPDs. So for me to start talking about IPDs in any kind of a positive, trust me guys, I've had to think of it, and I do think that it will help short-term liquidity. Thank you. So, you know, but I'm not saying it's the only solution. I'm not saying it's the best solution. I'm saying it's a potential option that Football Index have to leverage short-term liquidity by driving trading activity in the mid to low market. It will not help the big boys. Can I just ask what?
Go on, Frog, you go.
No, I just need to ask one question. What was the suggestion? Because I've been out of the room. I was at the toilet. I've missed the last 5-10 minutes. So.
Oh, this was on Twitter of like if you increase IPDs by like 3 or 4-fold for a set time period.
What we spoke about the other day.
Yeah. So for the next
that's fine. That's no problem.
Five months or whatever, you'd increase IPDs. You'd make it clear it's a 5-month scheme. It's not a 1-month flash in a pan. It's a 5-month thing to give Football Index time to go and get those liquidity providers in. And that would drive more liquidity by people being forced to or encouraged to refresh their shares because you'd be able to clear that 4% commission point. That's the logic.
Cool. Sorry, carry on, mate. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there.
No, that's right. I wanted to pose the question to kind of Stuart and Frog and Adex. Like, how do you think Football Index are going to go about kind of building back that connect between us traders and them? Like, how are they? What's their strategy to kind of make it up to the traders that have been kind of hard done by this implementation of order books? I'm struggling to see how they do it, and whether it's just something that we've kind of got to get on with and just learn to live with ourselves.
The thing is, I don't think they give a fuck about us now. I spoke to Football Index. It must have been about a year ago now. So pre-lockdown, I was talking to the guys at Football Index and saying that we need to have another trader event. People love the trader events. We should turn this into more of an education piece. So we should have forget getting these stock market people in. People don't give a fuck about them. They don't know who the hell they are, and they don't give a fuck about what they've got to say. What they want is people from the community who know what they're talking about. So get in Index Gain or get in Edge or get in the Fig or whatever to come and do a presentation about Football Index. And people will listen to them because they know who they are and they understand what they're talking about. And I said, can we get another trader meet of that kind? I said, look, I'm even willing to bankroll this thing and get a venue in London, put £2,000 behind the bar, charge people 20 quid, and they'll get free pints behind the bar, because all I had to do was get £2,000 worth of bar revenue to get the venue. And I said, all I want you guys to do is send someone down to turn up, and I can say that you've sponsored it, or you've bothered to attend. And they were like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. You can have it. You can do it yourself if you want, but we're not getting involved in any way, shape or form, because we're not doing that anymore. And that's the
really,
real...
they actively said that they're not doing trader panels anymore. Sorry,
trader events.
Trader meets, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they will do one of their own back, but I just can't see it in the current climate. Can you imagine doing one right now?
Adam's going to need security. That's the budget gone. That's the whole bank gone, lad.
Well, yeah, ignoring COVID as well.
You probably have to get one of those bulletproof vests that's got like nice patterns on it and flowery. He's always got those flowery shirts on.
The way things
cost a fortune.
The way things are going, he's going to need a fucking ticket from Elon Musk to Mars, in my opinion.
Do you think he'd be safe there, though, Frog?
I think that might be the only place.
But you know what? That's a great question, guys. Because honestly, I think you're right, Stuart. I don't think, and now it's great you can swear. They don't give a fuck, because I think they've made their mind up as well. And I don't think they're going to go back. It's shameful in lots of ways. I totally agree, guys.
But the only thing is, if they don't give a fuck, surely that's counterproductive. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like how can you not give a fuck? Because you have to give a fuck. Because if people don't care or people don't trust you, then it doesn't grow like you want it to grow. So it feels like they don't give a fuck. I totally agree with what you're saying, but I don't get how that's a good business.
Oh, it's an awful business model. It's the Ryanair model. It doesn't work long term, and that's why something Stuart said earlier is interesting about, have they made so much already? I had never actually thought of that. I don't know financially how much money they have. It'd be great to see their accounts after taking the liability away, because everything they're doing is counterintuitive to what you should do. So bring your base along. Maybe if they played this correctly and educated people, they might have even put more money in. It would have been such a smooth transition. They could still get their traders in. You could do a smooth changeover and transition in 2 or 3 years where it kind of mixes together, and you lose 30% of the people along the way and you gain another 30, and people don't even notice. And the people that weren't, like you said, Frog, earlier, it got you out of gambling, and I like to gamble as well. It maybe could have made people who like to gamble traders, and they could have got into the stock market. You know, it could have been a fantastic thing. I really don't understand what happened. We also have to understand COVID did happen as well. That's no excuse either, but I think it's underrated the impact that potentially had. I think that spooked them, and I think they brought things forward. But again, it's the ham-fisted way that they did it. Like you said, Frog, if they had a 2-month transition period, that we all got used to it. If you wanted to exit, you could exit where the liability wasn't fully on Football Index, but you took your hit, you walked away. And then if you wanted to stay, maybe there was some major incentive. I love IPD because I'm at the lower end. The 5 times was a fantastic offer. But I'll be honest, lads, I went into it 2 weeks. The first week, bought as much as I could and sold after about 10 days, because I knew people were going to be stuck with loads of rubbish that they just bought. And it was that kind of gambler mentality, which I thought was a bit disingenuous when you're moving towards a full order book. For me, that was a very gray area. I think knowing what was going to happen if you're trying to transition, that was poor, I thought.
It was absolutely a shit thing to do for a month. And particularly, again, it was just, there was just a, you know, that the current trader mentality didn't line up very well with it, because the general trader mentality is for IPD is buy when they're scoring goals and sell just before midnight or just post midnight, and you cause a massive crash. And I said this with Sun. So Sun Heung-min, I bought in at something like £1.70. Hang on, I'll just share my screen and we can find out exactly what I bought in at for him. But I bought all of my Sun shares on the pretty much the penultimate day or whatever it was of the IPDs, where he bagged 4 goals, he was definitely going to win the match day dividends that day, and it was pre 2 o'clock. £2.71 I bought him at. So I bought 300 odd Sun at £2.71, because I was sitting there going, right, he's going to make 40p in play dividends today. He's also going to win the match day dividends, and he might win the media as well. And I think he won 2 out of 3 of those things. I can't. He either shanked the media or he shanked the match day. I can't remember which one it was, but he made a nice little wedge for me. And I went, right, okay, guys. I posted on Twitter. You know, do we? Let's look at this logically, right? We've just made this amount of money on him. We bought him at this price. We're going to see this amount of return on him. He's got every chance of winning the team of the month this month, because we were in like the 12th of the month, and he just posted a score of like 300 or whatever it was. And he's got every chance of doing it again this season. He's in a good, strong position. Let's look at this logically, and let's not all instant sell the next thing. No, you don't want to take that advice. Fine. Okay. I'll look forward to the fire sale tomorrow. And I held him because I knew that was what was going to happen. And he dropped like 60p the next morning. And then 3 weeks later, he had another good performance. He was back to £2.71 again. I could have sold him then, but I went, no, my logic still stands. If he's going to do well over the season.
He's a god. I love him.
But, you know, and I'm not trying to plug Sonny. What I'm saying is it's an example of how there was so much kind of weird behavior in the trading community. Like, you've just made 60, 70p on him on a £2.70 trade. You could sit on him for the next year and you know he's going to win something else at that point. So it's kind of like almost like given that you've got money guaranteed by buying and holding him. So why try and flip him the next morning? I just don't understand the logic of some of the trades.
It's because there's so many gamblers. And to be honest, I profit off that. I look at a Sunday night, I'll buy him exactly as you said, and then I'll set. The good thing I do like about the new changes is I can buy him, let's say as an example, and I'm happy with 6% or 7%. So I can reinvest in those core 10, and I'll set my offer price and he'll sell. Like today, I've sold Immobile, my pronunciation is shocking, for Lazio, and 3 times I flipped them today for 10% each time. And it's because I sold him when he got a first goal, then he dropped down because, God, he didn't score a goal every 2 minutes. And then I rebought him, and then he got an assist. So then he went up, and then I sold him again. And now I'm going to wait until tomorrow morning because people exactly, she says, sure, they will. I can time it like a clock. They're about 7:02 or whatever, whenever the bloody market opens now. I can't keep track. Is it 11:30? I don't know. And then I can rebuy him again. But that's also Football Index should have known that, looking at the trends. They must have the stats that this is the market that they've created. It's not a true trader market. It's a gambling market. I think one of the guys mentioned as well about, you know, it's on that upward trajectory. These people are used to that. So suddenly we take the rug out and it falls. What are people's emotions going to be? Because don't forget, there's so much emotions involved in trading. And especially if you're new to trading, you're going to panic. And that's why I agree with everything you guys are saying. My only positive point is I think financially, they definitely will survive. I saw someone mention in the comments, that's fine. But obviously, reputation is so important. And I totally agree with that. Definitely. That's a big major issue. But for me, looking at the yields and what I could potentially return, I think there will be a stage where suddenly that mentality might take over. Because otherwise, we're just going to zero. I'll be honest, that's the only logic looking at the last 2 weeks. I keep saying 10%. I can see another 10%. I'm getting to a stage where I had to buy Kimmich today, and I've never held them because I thought he was too expensive for me. And £3.86, I couldn't say no. I had to buy in.
So just a quick one, guys. I am currently at the end of bottle of wine number 1. Will you guys be able to hold up the stream long enough for me to quickly go and get bottle of wine number 2, and then I will be back to carry on. So you guys talk amongst yourselves, keep the stream going, and I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes.
I'm on like number 7 beers, so I'm
Go
with
for
you,
it, Frank.
mate.
This is going to be great crack. Go.
No, if you know, like, I know I'm pretty loud by nature, but yeah, I thought you might have guessed already.
No, honestly,
I've been
I
on
thought.
beer Moretti's myself.
Nice one.
I'm an Irishman not drinking, so I think my passport might be taken off me.
Yeah,
I
Bloody
didn't
hell,
say
on a
that
Saturday as
loudly,
well.
you're exiled in. Sorry.
Sorry, it's just for you, something you said, Frog, and you sent a great tweet out as well. I think I don't know how many people are watching, but the mental health part of it is important as well. Like, it really worries me the amount of people messaging me. I'm not, I'm a rural Irish guy. Geez, I have no emotions whatsoever. But it's really important that people try to detach themselves from it. That's what worries me a lot. The amount of people that love this so much, and suddenly it's like a major part of their life is kind of been taken from them, or maybe something that they really love that maybe other things in their life isn't so good that they can rely on has kind of shifted a bit. And I think that's really good, that message you sent out about mental health. It's not worth your health. There's one guy that I talked to for the last 2 years, and I basically told him to leave the index because it was getting so much for him and it was really impacting his mental health. It's not worth it, guys. That's maybe just one message I think is important.
The only thing
it comes down to that.
Sorry, carry on, mate.
You go.
No,
I was
you
going to say,
go,
I think it comes down to that piece about why people selling as well, because anyone that's selling at the minute, I generally feel sorry for, because as Frog said, it's either out of pure fear or you don't believe in FI as a company. And I think it's such a shame that people are leaving because of that, because they're scared of the sentiment's so bad that they're choosing to leave. Whereas at the same time, I completely agree that when it's becoming bad for your mental health, that you need to take a step back. And I've seen a lot of people just saying they're kind of deleting the app and not looking at it for a period of time. I think perhaps that's the way to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can only talk for myself. I think I can understand how other people would be inclined to do that, and and I do think that if it is getting you to a point where you can't cope with what you're seeing, then yeah, absolutely, I totally agree. I'm slightly different in this. Well, not different. I just feel like I just love the whole thing too much. I just can't. It's like, yes, the money drops are, the ports crashing and all this sort of stuff. Okay, that's horrible. Like obviously that has effects on everyone, but I don't want this I don't want to lose this just purely because of the passion I have for the research, the study, and the data, the whole challenge of finding that guy that's going to win PB that other people haven't seen before. That's what I live for, and I don't want to lose that. So the money is a huge part of it, but I feel like this football index is, if I look back through the history of my life, and I look through the early days of playing, Champ Man back in the day, Football Manager now, the beginnings there, Sensible World is Soccer even. I don't know if the old boys in the room can remember that, then obviously FIFA, fantasy football, betting on football, everything's, then obviously the work side of it, coaching football, that kind of angle. Football Index just kind of brought it all together into a package that allowed me to use everything that I've learned to profit and, in theory, potentially change my life and my daughter's life. That was what and that's what I don't want to lose, because it's not so much the financial investment is huge, and that is the bottom line. At the end of the day, regardless of the whole love affair with football and everything like that, it comes down to money at the end of the day because of the nature of the platform. However, it's the emotional investment as well. I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. They need to record this and put this on an advert, because honestly, that's the reason why I'm still so positive about the index, is exactly what you said. It is a great product. I've always believed in it. That's why I stuck with all these drops when I made stupid decisions, and I've learned so much as I went along. This is maybe a fallacy, but that's the fundamental for me. This is a fantastic product. It really is. When you say it like that, Frog, as well, I can't disagree with anything that you've said. It is life-changing. Like, it's a bit what you saying, Stuart, as well. Like, I've made enough for a deposit for a house out of it, and I will not say that now, because there's so many people there with 40% drops going, oh, this cheeky bastard saying about, like, he got, a deposit for a house. I got lucky. But then as well, a lot of us early adopters was a risk. You see, I've always seen the index as a risk. When I first joined it, when did I join? I think when Arsenal won the FA Cup, and I bought Ramsey at 10 o'clock because he scored a goal, thinking, oh, he'll double in price. I had absolutely no clue what was going on, but I just loved it straight away. And that's the fundamental.
And that's the thing, is that, a lot of us early adopters made a good wedge of money through a simple few things of, I always saw it as a risk as well, but I offset that risk by basically doing most of my large deposits when they had the 10% deposit bonuses. So back in the day, they used to have a pretty much once per quarter, they were going to have a 10% deposit bonus. You saved up your funds, you put in the maximum amount on that 10% deposit bonus, and you had a kind of cushion on top of the instant sell blanket of this player can drop 10% and I've still got my money back if I instant sell him. So I don't need to worry about anything. I can kind of trade however the hell I feel like. And that was the golden day of the index, basically, was that, you know, because I've got this property portfolio, I get paid the rent, because they're students, quarterly in advance. So I was basically taking that quarterly advance rent, putting it all in the index. By the time that it came to the end of that quarter, I could take out the same amount again and pay the mortgages. And so I was basically printing something like $4,000 a month for doing literally nothing except for a few sensible trades. It was fucking amazing time that was. I just
golden age.
Yeah, I couldn't get access to money fast enough to put it into the bloody thing. But it was because I had these several cushions, and there was the very early deposit bonuses did come with this real knife that you had to be careful of. You had to trade through, I think it was 10 times the
10
value
times,
of the deposit.
that's right. Yeah.
So I put 10 grand in. I had to trade 100 grand's worth of shares before I was allowed to withdraw or put things in. So I had to get through 100 grand of trades before I put my next 10 grand in for the next one in the next 3 months window. And that was that. Yeah. So you can imagine how much money was moving around the index in that period. Those were the Wild West glorious days of fun.
I remember, like, during the summertime when, like, anyone was linked to anywhere, honestly, you just get on quick and it just flew. I don't know if you remember the one with Morata. Was it Morata was going, or Lukaku was going to Chelsea? And I think he went up and down in price from £2 to £4, I think 20 times in the one day. It was absolutely crazy stuff. But then also, is what Frog said as well, is it's such an amazing product. And I think someone made a great phrase, was or fucking upwards, or they're failing upwards. Like, just by luck, by pure chance, it seems to have worked for them. And I think maybe, guys, it's become maybe too big, that kind of doesn't work anymore. And maybe this is a step too far. And I agree, they just mismanaged it. It could have been so simple. We all could have written this. It's a massive change, give a 6 months transition, a bit like Froth, give you an out if you need to have an out. Obviously, not the whole, we'll cover your whole bet. It's like you'll take a 10% hit. Football Index would have had money coming in, and then they could have spent that money to attract the kind of trader they want and keep and educate the people. I hate that bloody academy. I've always hated that thing. It's so confusing. Like, when they do IPOs on there, it takes me about 3 hours to find what the IPO is, only for someone on Twitter will send it. It's these little, again, goes back to the tech. It's these small little things.
That is one of the things that drives me mental. Is the other day I was doing one of these streams and I was trying to find something in the news article bit, and I was like, this should be one of the things that is front and bloody center, because it was Frog, you raised the question about the way the floor and the ceiling of the new order books thing post taking the leverage off was, and we couldn't bloody find it. We had to go onto the Football Index Twitter to find the bloody news story we were talking about.
The amount of times you get a notification of, like, market update, and then you click, like, you open the notification and then you get your portfolio, and then, as you say, you spend a minute trying to refresh the homepage to get the link to actually get to the update. And
that's not an update you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. That's then tanked your portfolio. But look, I've got to shoot off, guys. But I appreciate you having me on, Stuart, and good speaking to you, Addict. And
great.
Frog,
great points. Yeah,
take
great
care.
points.
Yeah,
cheers,
take care.
mate.
Do it again.
Thanks, man.
And look, I think I don't want to end on negativity. I think I'm firmly in the index till the very end, at least. And look, I think we'll be back in hopefully in the not too distant future, but we just need to be a bit patient. So yeah, cheers, guys. I'll speak to you soon.
Cool.
Brilliant. Have a great one.
Do a plug while I've got everyone's attention for 2 seconds.
Who was that was on? Sorry, I didn't catch who that was.
Football Index. I will dig out his Twitter and find out.
Do that.
So guys, just a quick one. This cost me 80 quid to set up all the software packages for this. And if you want me to do this into December, it's going to cost me £50 a month. My wife will not stand for that. So if anyone wants to click the little donate button, it's on my main page here. Anything that goes over the donation cost for running the software in the month goes to the hashtag Div for Kids. I've had 3 very generous people that have sent me £35 so far. I'm not saying you should be sending that. If you send me like 50p, if you all do that, then we're all there. But yeah, just a quick plug to get towards those.
Brilliant. Yourself and Frog as well. I think this is really invaluable. And look, it's a small thing, guys, but I like your messages around the financial part of it, because it is a major concern for some people. And I think it's great that you're kind of clarifying that. The other stuff as well, I think it's good to have a rant. I think it's important. There's no point saying here that everything is perfect on the index. As much as I love it, there's been so many mistakes that I'm getting near the end of my patience. But the one thing I keep saying is I do think it can be salvaged. I really do. They've been through so much.
It's a head fuck of emotions. Let's not beat around the bush. It's an actual head fuck, because on face value right now, it's an absolute shit show. But we still believe massively in the long-term concept. So it's really hard to comprehend, and that goes back to the whole psychological thing. People don't need to be put through this. And we've spoke about loads of things about removing IS and all these different things, but the way that the staggered implementation of the matching engine with only one half of it, and all these certain things have contributed to head down this path of confusion, and we don't need to have that. And I just want to trade footballers. Just let me trade footballers. That's all I want to do. I don't want to have to be talking every single week. It was like the pod the other day with John. It was like the last 10 minutes we actually spoke about football.
Yeah.
What the fuck? The first 20 pods I did with John, all we spoke about was football. And now we don't speak about it at all, ever. It's fucked up.
I love your passion, Frog. It's great, honestly.
Again, I'm getting a little drunk now, so I know
it's good, man. Let loose. Jesus, it's great, honestly. This
is a beautiful thing about me, right? So I'm the boring Englishman with the very dull monotone accent, and I've brought in a Scotsman and an Irishman to flavour up the.
Well, what's the joke? Come on in the chat. What's the joke then? Come on, it's low, lads. Come on, give you a bit of time. No, but honestly, you guys are doing a great service. I think it's good. I'm not saying anything about any of the pods, and I love John's one, but no corporate stuff. It's just things aren't perfect, and these are the problems. And the stuff you're saying, other people are thinking. But what happens I don't know about you guys. The one thing I would say is Twitter is so toxic in general. The index Twitter, it's like if I say a cheap player is good, it means I hate every premium hold. No, it's just an opinion. And it seems like we can't have opinions. It's either all negativity that is going to burn down tomorrow, or then the other extreme that, it's so perfect, it's our fault that's caused this. And it's nice to have a rational in between, because 80-90% of people are in middle, exactly as you guys have been saying, love the index, but are worried. What is the future? And just wants a little bit of confidence and assurance. I think confidence in the market. And God, guys, just a nice, clear comms to say, this is the timeline. Here's the mistakes. We know you've been affected. And this is what it's easy for me to say, because why haven't they done it? Now, that's the other part as well, guys. The conspiracy part, and I don't want to bring it in, is if you wanted to get liquidity and market makers into the market, obviously they're more attractive the lower the prices are for their entry point. I'm not saying that that's been done deliberately, but just logically, that's the only last thing in my mind that why hasn't it been fixed is because it will make it easier to get that market maker. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's...
Right, guys, we've got Paul who's just joined us. So, Paul, if you unmute yourself, you are live with us. Feel free to say whatever you feel.
Good points at it. Good points.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll just listen in for a bit and then join in when I feel I can jump and add something.
Absolutely, mate.
Thanks for having me.
That's the entire aim of this stream, guys. Is the reason why I'm going live for these things is I have no interest in becoming a podcast man. Couldn't care less. I do not understand the tech and all of the software packages and everything you need to have that John and the Fig and everyone else has. This is here because I begged John to do something on Thursday earlier than 9 o'clock. And I said, I'd absolutely be there with him 9 o'clock. And it was going to be great when he got there to 9 o'clock. But I felt the community needs something sooner, basically. And I was saying to everyone, and the Fig has been completely absent through all these crises. Where the fuck is he when the things turn to shit? I've seen him do absolutely nothing except hang out with Sporting Panda and talk the same bollocks that he always talks. And that's for me, the people in this community that are there, should be leading the way and giving people a voice and a table and a platform to come and talk and share their panic and share their fears. You know, John did a brilliant thing on Black Sunday when he set up that podcast at like 11 o'clock at night to give people somewhere to go, to provide them reassurance. And that's what this is about, is this is giving a voice to anyone who wants to come and talk about anything. This is a call-in show. Anyone can come on and talk Football Index. And the whole point is to share all those feelings and despairs and frustrations and positivities so we can get a really balanced view of where the index is, and hopefully all come out the other side of it feeling a bit better and not so, you know, ready to throw ourselves off a bridge because we looked at our portfolio today and we happened to accidentally put midpoint on or rather than average price or whatever, you know, the more doom and gloom version of it is. I know I've got the most negative version on mine because I like to keep balance in my mentality, but you know, that's what the whole point of this thing is, to give everyone somewhere to come share their views. And you know, in the comments, guys, ask us questions, ask us give us a direction of travel where you want to talk. Otherwise we will just ramble on. And thank you guys for coming on the stream as well, because this is so much easier when you've got someone to bounce off of and you're not trying to hold the thing up on your own.
Pleasure. Sorry, Paul wanted to talk. Go on mute for a bit.
No,
sorry. Yeah,
no,
I was just going to. Yeah, cheers, mate. No, obviously I replied to something that you put before in the group, Stu. Did you have a look at that wise and stuff? Obviously the Facebook wise and stuff. I asked you a couple of questions sort of on
Facebook.
You put the famous diagram in there wise and stuff. I think you were looking for a bit of feedback from it.
Oh yeah. So which one have you put in there, mate? Sorry.
You should see. It was the picture that you put in there wise and stuff. So
yes.
You shouldn't be able to miss it. You got it.
Yeah. So Paul, thanks for sharing. I think that will agree with the group. It's not something simple, at least from my point of view. When I can see John got a headache, do you feel the simplest way to break it down for the community to understand? And with saying that, how important do you believe it is the community for this? Yeah, mate, I don't think the majority of the community understand this. I'd be surprised if it's 50% that get it, because I see so many people, you know, there's this guy, Pritpal Singh Purwell. I'm sure he's got a very good view and a very good understanding of how the index works, but he completely disagrees with my view of it. And I tried to encourage him to come on and talk about it so we could discuss this live tonight. And I know that that guy Toffee also strongly disagrees with that view of thinking and has tried to explain it in probably not the best way on John's pod. So it is something that is incredibly difficult to get your head around. And maybe I've got it all wrong. Maybe I have completely missed the point. But from everything I understand about economics and how markets work and how economies work, for me, I cannot see how that is wrong. That is fundamentally the way things are working. And I'll just share it again, guys. And I know we've been through this a couple of times tonight, but as we're talking about it right now, let's get the dreaded diagram back up. The simple point is that there is this complete disconnect and people cannot get their heads around it between the way the pricing structure worked and why Sancho was definitely worth 15 quid and the way the pricing structure now works and why he is definitely not worth 15 quid at current rate. And that is going to, and it's not saying he will never be worth £15. What it is saying is it's going to take an immense amount of liquidity to shift him back to 15 quid. So what this is showing is that if you go for a series of trades, basically you strip out, even though somebody's put £750 into the market, the overall market value drops by £350 because of the fact that everyone is undercutting each other. And because when Football Index removed instant sell, they walked away with a whole wedge of cash. That meant that that money was no longer in the market and it was reliant on what people were willing to pay at that point. In this scenario, Trader 1 owns £15 shares, 100 shares of Sancho bought at 15 quid. He sells them to Trader 2 for £7.50 a share. That means he has lost 750 quid. That means he has £750 less to invest back into other players in this market in the general Football Index economy. That means the whole Football Index economy loses out by £750. And that multiplied by 1,000 traders becomes quite a lot of money. That becomes, you know, 7.5 million. So that becomes 7.5 million that we've no longer got available to us as traders. So that means every time we are cutting each other's throats and instant selling, we are hurting the rest of our portfolios because there is less liquidity, less money moving around in this market to buy the players we want to sell. If you are buying at the market rate, it means there is more money left in that trader's pocket to buy the players you want to sell. That's the way it works. Any thoughts?
I think again, like I said, I'm talking about sort of, Joe blogs on the street here wise and stuff, and I think they're just going to find it extremely difficult to get their heads around this. And I know this is going to sort of split the community massively, and maybe that's what FI wants. They want it to be that over complicated sort of platform. I just think there's going to be a real struggle out there, and we can see it on all platforms at the moment when it comes to trying to get your head around it. That's potentially, obviously, how you see it. We've already discussed there about other people seeing it differently, and how many other versions are we going to see before maybe FI come out and maybe deliver something that would make everybody understand. Is it a case of we need some sort of, I don't know, some sort of basic platform training of some sort to sort of help the community out? Or
the problem with it is the only way you're going to get anyone to do that, because I've seen all of this stuff they've got in the education platform, and honestly I don't think anyone ever looks at it. Not one trader I think looks at it, and I think the only way you're ever going to get people to look at it is to say you are not allowed to deposit or withdraw until you've watched X, Y, and Z video to educate yourself on how this works. That is the only way you're going to get people to do it, because I think most people are learning stuff on the fly through Twitter or on podcasts, and by no means are any of us necessarily subject matter experts in this. What we have is we have some people that know a lot about financial markets and are very intelligent people that share an opinion. But that doesn't mean that we are 100% right. It means that we have thought about things, we've looked at all the variables, that we've come to an opinion. And I bet there's several of us that disagree. And so that means that, while there is this strong disagreement between a number of intelligent individuals, that means that there is a degree of uncertainty that can't be balanced out. And that's where Football Index needs to step in, provide certainty, because you can't have all these different versions of the truth running around. That damages the platform. We need to come to a consensus around how these things operate and how these things work in the real world, and everyone to agree that is the operating version of the truth, and not turn anyone that disagrees with that into a social pariah, because I think that's very dangerous. I think it's about the whole point of this stream, and the whole point of my view of how things should work, is that everyone should be able to have a voice and an opinion, because that is how you convince people. You bring people in, you say, right, go on, explain your point of view, let them have a table for their voice, and then you correct them and explain why they're wrong. And they might not agree with you in that day, but over the period of time, by gradually having those conversations, you can adjust people's point of view. You will never adjust somebody's point of view by just going, you're wrong, you're a twat, you don't understand things, you're thick. That will never change anyone's point of view. You need to explain where things are and why that is the case, and get them on side, and then they will be your biggest advocate.
Do you wonder why then, say, the likes of the official podcasts and stuff don't do more of this and sort of open the mic up to the general sort of public and stuff? I get, why would they, when they've got John and they've got Fig and stuff doing it for them for free? But would it not maybe put people down the lines of getting the official information and maybe the facts right, instead of hearsay and guesswork and stuff from the likes of opinion based of who to buy and when to sort of do it wise and stuff? Would it not make more sense for them to do it?
I mean, I don't get into their logic, because I know that John has reached out to them on countless occasions to come onto things, and they just don't want to engage with him. I don't know whether that's because he's been involved with Footstock to a certain degree, or whether it's just arrogance, or because whatever it is. I know they've been on Fig's show like once or twice, but I just don't understand it. I mean, personally, if I was a company and I had these amazing people doing these amazing shows for free, I would be bringing them into the fold and giving them a little bit of bonus, intel, or a little bit of bonus material, or 100 quid here or there to keep them going. I wouldn't be just saying I'm not going to engage with you, because it's brilliant free marketing as far as I'm concerned. So I don't understand their logic with the whole adversity to the pods and to the traders in general, really.
I've tried to reach out myself and stuff. There's a user base there that we've got on Facebook, was it just under 8,400 members obviously on there, and clearly obviously I can see who is active, and I looked at it today and stuff, and it was sort of averaging around the sort of 6,000 mark active members within that Facebook group. There's a platform there to use where you've got everybody in one place. There's no sort of it's going to go elsewhere wise and stuff, and just to say, well, look, is there any way you could sort of utilize that, or and other platforms and stuff. I get it, we've got the Slack communities and we've got Twitter and stuff like that, but use some sort of platform to sort of aim off to sort of help individuals. And again, I know I'm going down the sort of rabbit hole of going, they don't need to help people and stuff, and that they're a gambling site, etc. wise and stuff like that. But you'd like to think, and I hear just talking about sort of the mental health side of things and stuff, just a little something back to the community of sort of aiming to sort of help and to sort of push people along a little bit better.
Did you see the retweet? I didn't actually realize this from the app. I tweeted earlier regarding it's Safe Gambling Week. Like really? Like you can't write this shit. You really can't. It's like oh my days. But I just want to touch on we spoke earlier regarding like toxic Twitter communities, or like Twitter versus Facebook, hey Paul. I
don't have a clue what you're talking about, mate. I honestly don't.
I actually don't have a clue. I've never been part of it, really. I don't think. Have I? I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway,
I'm sure
my point being is that yes, we've had all this division and all this, like tit for tat arguments, boys, people attentions, whatever it may be, like whatever caused, even just from a point of like different perspectives on players or whatever it may be, but I do feel that this is the most united we've ever been, and rightfully so.
Yeah, when we're losing a load of money, that's what brought us together. I wish you didn't have to come to that.
No, but we are.
I'm joking. That was a joke.
Yeah, no, but we are here, and like,
You're right,
and I think that's good. I think that's good. We need to be together because we're all in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's any different. Like, okay, we all have different portfolios, but we are all in the same boat. So, okay, we don't have the answers. We don't even have all the information that we would like from Football Index. That's part of what we're calling for right now. But like, the fact that I think we're more on the same page and we're all kind of fighting the same fight, I think that's good. I think that's a good thing.
No, I definitely agree, wise and stuff. And no doubt I instigate quite a lot of the stuff and that myself, wise and stuff. And I think it is that now's the time for the likes of Fig and John to sort of put whatever they've got behind them, wise and stuff, and literally come together. Like you said, it is a time to stick together. It's difficult for a Facebook group and Twitter as an entire community to sort of put the things aside, wise and stuff, because I'm pretty sure there's a few haters out there, wise and stuff. But even still, it's definitely a time now where I think you've already sort of mentioned it, wise and stuff. Certain people within the community, can sort of break down them barriers and say, well, look, we're all in this together. John's tweet sort of much put that out, where a rant or whatever you want to call it, wise and stuff. But he certainly, put himself out there. Considering he's wanted to get, the official sort of FI Towers and stuff into his pod wise and stuff, and he's probably burnt his bridges now by doing that. But he even still, by sort of putting himself out there, making himself known to the community, say, look, I'll be there, I'll be your voice. Who's with me, sort of type thing and stuff. And when you've got the likes of Fig and you've got Panda, and you've got all of the big accounts who almost dismiss. And don't want to sort of be a part of that sort of thing, just to protect their own maybe agendas or their own sort of links towards FI and stuff like. I'm one for the community and stuff like. I love the fact that obviously I'm admin of a massive sort of Facebook group, and certainly I try and do as much as I can to sort of improve that community and to bring extra bits in if I can, wise and stuff. I don't do it as a job. I don't do it because I'm being told to or employed to do it, wise and stuff. It literally is every spare minute of the day, which the missus goes absolutely nuts about, wise and stuff like that. But every spare minute of the day, I'm on there replying to messages, whether it be in my inbox or whether it be on the sort of the group itself and stuff. It's let's keep it going. Let's get together, wise and stuff, and let's get through this.
The problem I think is that I just genuinely despair about it is I think there is massive schisms in the community across all levels between different parts of the Twitter communities and the Slack communities and the Facebook communities and everything else, there are certain people that have certain narratives that they want to play out, and they have their supporters and they have their detractors, and those lines are drawn, and I don't think anything is going to pull those down. I think it's been very clear that John has reached out to the FIG on a number of occasions to try and break those walls down, and I just can't see it happening, unfortunately. The FIG actually jumped onto one of these the other day, which was quite interesting, so I'd love for him to do that again and to engage, but I can't see it happening long term, sort of thing. But you know, and I'm probably a bit of a social pariah on Slack these days, but you know, that's what I'm saying. If anyone wants to plug that on Slack, go ahead, sort of thing. But,
take it as a compliment. I think the last time I was on there, Stuart, to be honest. But I think the one thing as well is they need us. It's what Frog said, and yourself as well, Paul, and all of you guys. It's true. They still need us more than we need them in a very weird way. You know, we are still their current base. It mightn't be the base that they want. It mightn't be where they want to get to in the future. But this is who's producing them a revenue at the moment. And they still need to keep us happy. And that's why I mentioned briefly about the fact that it's very unusual that they haven't stepped in. Look, just because I've been on here ages, guys, I'll be honest with you, you probably remember as well, Stuart, and you as well, Frog. I'm not sure how long you're on, Paul. Like one time, I think somebody complained because there was a bit of a miscommunication or misinformation, and then suddenly there was a massive offer came out about 4 days later. They were really good at being very reactionary. And that's the thing about the footballers. They always reacted. There was a problem. You knew they'd step in with something. Now, maybe they don't have enough now. I know they did the bonus offer, the IPD. Maybe they thought that would be enough to kickstart the market and we'd be flying again. But this time is very unusual. There hasn't been a concrete thing coming out. Unless, again, they've just got it so wrong and they're now really scrambling and they're maybe doing little piecemeal stuff to keep us ticking along to one big thing. Maybe me being positive again, but I can't read it, guys. It's just unusual.
I think
for me. Sorry, go on, Frog.
Philly. No.
I'm waiting for the announcement for 25 days till Christmas prizes. That's what I'm waiting for. I reckon they're going to come out with some Christmas. I'm just waiting for it. I just think that's what's going to happen.
They don't work though. Like they don't work anymore because
this goes back
to what Stuart said. In an order book world, these gimmicky offers don't work. I'll take any offer they want to throw at us. But the problem is when these offers set a false reality. This was my issue with 5 times IPDs. Like it created this kind of situation where people didn't really know where they were going. Like, are they buying these players for these massive IPD dividends? Like, because it was such a short period. Like, I know Stuart's talking about a long-term IPD offer, which is totally different. But in terms of that the moment that happened, with all the changes that was going on at the platform at the time, it created this false reality where people didn't know where the fuck they were. And the fallout from that is basically it's one part of where we are right now. It's not, it's all connected and it's all interlinked, and there's no way I seen a correspondence between an account manager and like a guy I know, and basically the question was asked, what sort of offer would get you to deposit again? And the guy lost his shit.
They haven't learned, have they?
No, like it doesn't work anymore. It's not going to work. Those things are not going to work. Like yes, they're good, and like I don't think they should stop doing them long term. But in terms of the way that they manipulated the market through their offers, those days have gone with order books.
Very good point. Yeah, I think you're spot on, and I think maybe that's why they're scrambling so much, because they don't have that plan B, which again is very poor. Let's be honest; they should have had the market maker liquidity already lined up before you'd introduce the order books. I can forgive that happens. Then with COVID, try and get that as quickly as possible. That's not been done. Then miscommunication as well. I think something you said, Frog, is really good there. You're right. It's like compounded, hasn't it been? It's just been one thing after another after another. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. It just doesn't seem to stop at the moment. And they have lost it. That's the worrying thing. I think you're right, guys, is they've started to lose a lot of faith. I think was a football index, the last guy was on his right. A lot of people are just not believing in the management. And that's going to be very hard to get back. But they'll have to do it soon, I think, lads. No, they'll have to start to recover in the next 2 to 3 months, I think, to salvage it.
The thing about all of this, right, is looking at, say, the platform today, from a personal perspective, I do generally think they're this very intensive period of football we've got coming over the next month is going to help Football Index. Let's go real uber positive for a moment. And the reason why I say that is, like, I look at my portfolio today, and it's been a right shitter today because I've been pipped for, you know, second place with the defender. So I have Zuma. I was one place off of winning the dividends on him. Fernandez has just been pipped on the midfield. I'm 1 point and 1 place off of winning the dividends on him. And I had the 4th place forward today. So I look at that and go, you know, I've got some players there which were bloody close to winning 12p, and particularly Zuma on like 40p. That is a bloody good return if he wins that just once in the season. And I think that's the thing, is that we're just a few of these wins. And I know that one of the guys on before it had Demerol.
That was me. I'm going to milk that.
Sorry, you're still.
I've already gone over Twitter with it. I've told my mum. I've told the son. I told everybody. Sorry.
So you're like 75 or 80p or whatever on Demerol, and so that is a bloody good return. So you're on a high right now because you've just won dividends on Demerol.
Yes.
And so I think it's just Football Index need, because we've had this horrible international break while we've also got the fuck up that is all fuck ups. It's all very negative at the moment. And as we get a few of these where people are starting to win on their 80p players or whatever, there will be a lot of positivity generated from that, because yes, it won't be a huge volume of traders that have got these people, but the ones that do have it are going to have a very positive experience. You're going to get those little endorphins running. It's going to get you excited again, and you're going to start investing again. And that's the thing, is that, you know, I keep talking about being a slightly disengaged trader and I haven't got any more money. I put in 650 quid this month into Football Index. I completely fucked up the timing because I forgot that you had the 9-game in-play 30-play dividend window, and I spent it all on buying bloody KDB at the start of the month because people convinced me that that was a good idea. So
I'm in the same camp. I'm still waiting. He'll come good.
He will come good at some point, yeah. But that was a real shank of a decision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I think that the more football we see, the more market positivity will there be, and that is a big factor, because at the moment there is just so much negativity about everything, and Football Index really need to find out a better way to handle these international breaks, because it is going into the way that things were going at the time of the international break was such an own goal from their perspective, because we know that things drop off during the international break. And to be honest, Football Index had a fucking good opportunity this summer, because of the fact that you had like so much of a window with the season being backloaded and then the season starting early, that you didn't have much non-football in the summer, because the summer's normally this horrible barren wasteland if there isn't the World Cup for Football Index. So that they didn't have that this year. So they could have used that as a real platform to get going with things, but instead it was just kind of wasted. Divi, to answer your question, I am now this far through the second bottle of wine. So it is a lovely series of Marlborough Sauvignon Blancs from New Zealand. If you do love a nice white wine, I strongly recommend the Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. You're welcome when you try it.
I'm a Sauv Blanc man all the way. That's pretty much all I drink when it comes to white. Yeah, that's my tipple. I'm 8 bottles of San Miguel in, big bottles too. So yeah, I'm pretty pissed.
Impressive, boys.
It's TV
like
wine.
I said, I'm not even drinking, and I'm Irish, so my passport's gone. I'll have to go to the asylum over here or something. But yeah, honestly, look at I think, looking at the positive, you're right, and also the IPD returns, all those people that recycled, and we'll be getting all those returns back as well. And if they start to reinvest it back into players, I'm just saying another positive as well. You don't know. It's that'll be all over the timeline now. I recycled my shares. I didn't do it myself. And I've now got 150 quid every. It's this FOMO thing as well. This fear of missing out on the index, especially the Twitter community, it's massive as well. If it's dropped this quickly, it can always rebound that quickly as well. That is the other point as well. I know it's very positive attitude, but it could bounce back again. It wouldn't take a lot potentially if something positive happens. I know I'm clinging to stuff. I'm gonna head off, guys. I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on and putting up with me for the last hour or so. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Mate. And please come on the next time I do one of these, because it's great to have different opinions and anyone that's willing to talk, and a lovely Irish accent to go with it.
Ah, bloody hell. I'm from a very rural part, so this is it's like proper West Country. Ooh, are. Right, guys, look, have a great one. Fight the good fight. All right. Nice talking to all of you. Take care.
Cheers. And you, bye-bye.
Bye, lads. Bye.
Frankly, I thought he was better than that. Apparently, I'm too good for a Chardonnay. All right. There, you know, absolute connoisseur of wine. Apparently, Divvy. He's managed to absolutely diagnose forensically what I'm drinking. Mind you, somebody else called the whiskey I was drinking. Well, I call it whiskey. It was bourbon. The Gentleman Jacks I was having the other day as well. So apparently, there are a lot of very strong alcoholics on the index that can identify booze at the slightest hint.
I think that list has slightly gone up as well. I think that's it.
Fine bottle that. I've got no idea. So, who wants to take the next part of things? Frog has gone mute, so I'm assuming he's off finding.
I've literally been talking to you for the last 5 minutes in between things, and I've literally not realised. Oh my god! Oh yeah. Anything but Chardonnay. I was shouting at the screen. ABC. Anything but Chardonnay. That's what I was saying.
I mean, come on, surely no self-respecting man ever drinks a bottle of Chardonnay.
Oh,
That's all I can
Chardonnay,
say.
Chenin Blanc. I don't like any of that shit. I'm Sauvignon Blanc all the way, man. So that's my thing. And somebody's saying about Blue Nun. Somebody in the comments was saying about Blue Nun. That's what my gran used to drink. That stuff's rank.
I mean, all I know is I don't drink wine. Traditionally, I don't drink wine. And I stumbled across this nice Marlborough region wine because it had hints of guava, and I know I love guava. And I drank 2 bottles of the stuff in one night, and I went, do you know what? That Marlborough region's all right. I'm going to go and actually start drinking wine.
Yeah. White and red, fine. No, well, Sauvignon Blanc. I'm more of a red man. I'm a red man at heart. Rosé, nah, you can jog on with your rosé. I'm not interested.
If we're talking reds, I'm going to have to say it's a Malbec for me. A nice Malbec. Yeah,
I like lots of like I'm pretty happy with a simple little Merlot, you know what I mean? But I'll drink most reds, to be honest. I just love red wine. So South African red wine, I do like a lot of that. So Australian wine's great. I love this wine pod. This is great. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, football. No.
Yeah, just about, I think. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Ronaldo's price today after that 3-13 performance.
Oh, Divvy. Is Divvy in the house? Ronaldo's past it, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Ronaldo's past it. Wasn't that in the narrative that we heard the other day? Like who's the star man? Huh? Who?
Divvy, if you want to get on and defend yourself, I know that's not what you were saying the other day.
I know. I'm taking the piss. The other thing I thought was funny as well is that Odegaard started for Real Madrid today in a 4-2-3-1 formation in the number 10 role. I thought, hey, Divvy, mate, like, they're stitching you up.
Oh dear. Oh God, what is Bishop Finger and Furry Ferret? There's some horrible words being used in the chat.
What are they talking about? Wines
I'm
of girls?
I'm assuming these are whiskies, possibly.
No, David Williams is saying that wine's a girl's drink. Like, man, like, come on, like, where's your culture, pal?
I mean, I have to say, I would have been with you, David, but I went on this lovely wine tasting tour in Sorrento in Greece. Go to not Sorrento, Santorini in Greece. Go to Santorini.
Beautiful.
It's fucking lovely. And that sort of shifted my mindset a bit about wine. Is going on a lovely wine tasting tour there.
Yeah. I ended up in Santorini. I spent 2.5 months traveling, like island hopping around Greece. And I ended up in Santorini with like 4 of my mates. It's not really a place you go with your mates, you go with your bird. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's spot on.
So I'm just reading somebody's put listening in now, lads. Thoughts on this tweet, and it's basically a volcanic eruption of, understandably, liquidity at the moment is holding back capital and confidence from entering the market. But once these collide, the market is going to be a thing of beauty. But it starts something special for which can come through the other end. It's back to this whole thing, right? So I'm going to bring up the old equilibrium chart again. So bear with me 1 second while I get on the share the screen button. So what we're talking about is, for the football index to start to grow again and start to reach a degree of normality, first we need equilibrium. And what equilibrium means is both the sell offers and the buy offers. So the current spreads are both available. So you have got a sell option, you have got a buy option, and they have closed into a very tight spread. We're talking sort of somewhere in the between of like minimum of 20p spread on all players. And then what you're also talking about is the average offer price closing in on those spreads, not being bang on it, but being much closer it is now. Because if we take a look at the actual index for a second, so if I make sure I'm on the actual right thing and I'm sharing my screen, which would be a good start. So if I share my screen and I'm on the index, and let's take the top 200 players. So if we go to top 200 and we say highest price. So if we take Sancho as a good example, so his spread at the moment is getting there in the sense that there's 514 over 588, so that's not too bad. However, the average offer price is at 938, so that means there's a massive deviation. It's almost a 100% deviation from the current market spread. And this is true of most of the big guys, is there is a huge deviation between the average offer price and the current spread. Those things all need to align for us to reach equilibrium, because that means that everyone is trading at a similar price point. And that's the point where we have reached rock bottom and everyone has hit the bottom zone. And that's the point where we rebuild the index from there. While there are these huge disparities on all of those three metrics, that is where we end up with like real problems in the index, because people have completely different valuations and people are gutting people at the low end of things, and people have got ridiculously high expectations at the high end of things. So it is a complete quagmire that we've got to work our way through, and that is going to take at least a few months for people to come to a consensus around where that pricing point should be.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, I think you've just answered my question there. I was just going to ask you, two bottles of wine in, what's your opinion in terms of like how does that get achieved? Like how do we stop traders like selling like fearfully like they are at the moment? And like, okay, does it just take time? You know, I just want to know like what's the path to that kind of equilibrium? Ugh, I can't even say that drunk. Equilibrium that you speak of.
It is just time. It is just time. It is basically, it needs to move up and down and reach a general market consensus where people go, do you know what? This guy is either too cheap for me not to afford to buy him, or he's too cheap for me to sell him at that price. And then these things will generally continue, like reach an amalgamation where we all concur that, you know, £7.27 is the current Sancho price based on the availability shares of what people are willing to sell him at and what people are willing to buy him at. And then once that equilibrium is reached, and all of those three numbers, and that's the three numbers you can look at, is the buy, the sell, and the average offer, and all three of those are in a tight little knit circle, you can say that is the point where you know that those three mean that player has reached equilibrium. I can trade on that player of confidence because everything is tightly knit together. Everyone's agreed what that guy's value is, and I can buy him now knowing that he's going to be fairly static on the price. With all of this disparity at the moment, you can absolutely trade on people, but you've got very little confidence that that is the fixed point at which that thing's going to settle out, because there's so much disparity between those three numbers. It could end up at any point. George Duck is asking, can I explain how standard deviation works on index gain? If you know, I do not know anything about how standard deviation works on index gain. I do not know anything about how index gain grew any of their numbers. I am a social pariah when it comes to index gain. I'm not the best person to ask. I'm sure the guys at Index Gain would be happy to explain it to you if you ask them in their chat thing. So please engage with the guys at Index Gain. I don't know enough about how they calculate the numbers.
There should be YouTube videos out there anyway for them to engage and sort of watch them anyway.
I'm sure there's something out there somewhere.
Stu, so where do we go then? So how do we value the players that are on the platform at the moment? And I'm sort of leading into something here, wise and stuff, and it's going to go sound crazy and stuff like that. But where do we get the value of these players from?
Right. So let's share our screen. So let's go and have a look at the market. So
no, it's just a general question, just to yourself and stuff of where do you believe that the value of these players is based wise? It's not the current value where they're at the moment, but how do we, in general, sort of come up with this player is worth X amount?
So it depends which part of the market you're talking to. So this is where it all gets very complicated, because I have a view, but my view is clearly not the general consensus, because my view is that certain players are not worth a lot of what they're worth, because I trade very heavily on PB. So for me, Teji Savanier should be one of the kings of the index, because he wins PB and he is freaking dirt cheap and he is the godsend. And everyone knows anything about my Twitter. They know that I bang on about Teji Savanier more than anything in the world, because he's about, well, I think he's about £1.30 or something now, but he's won PB twice this season, and he's a very strong player. He sets all the set pieces, and he's basically one game-winning goal away from winning PB, and he's won Team of the Month. He is a fantastic player.
Nice point.
But, yeah, I will pump Teji all day long. I won't shut up about the bastard. It's about the only player I'll ever pump. But for me, he is the king of the index. I love him because I found him through looking at the data and looking at his profile and looking at what scores he was getting and going, right, he's the player for me. Now, that is by no means how the majority of people trade on the index. There is so much bias towards youth talents and players of young nature that have the potential to become the next Messis and the next Ronaldos. Now, these are all very subjective trades, and that provides them with an overinflation. There is also a lot of heavy media bias around players that either have a high media profile or players that might have a high media profile. So when I'm saying players that might have a high media profile, I'm talking about Haaland. So Haaland is a player who is a fantastic world-beating player. He's going to be one of the top players in the world. Generally, he is pretty shit for PB. He has demonstrated that today by he's going to end up being like second, despite the fact he's bagged 4 goals and probably including the game-winning goal, and he's still going to come second place. And he's only bagged 300 points because he scored 4 goals today, and he's not going to do that very many times this season, despite the fact that he's a fantastic player. The reason why his price has inflated at a point it has is because everyone knows that he's got a very low cap on his sell clause at Dortmund, and people are buying into him on the basis that he is going to have a high media return because he's going to get linked to an English club. That is why Haaland is currently trading at the rate he is, in my personal opinion. It is nothing to do with his PB returns. It's everything to do with his media returns.
Stu,
go on.
I'm a PB guy at heart as well. Like that's my bread and butter. That's my love. That's my, like picking up. I always talk about, it's like you talk about Teji. I talk about Max Arnold and all the hate that he got and like how wrong everyone was proven there. It's the same with Hakan Çalhanoğlu when he was out of favour at AC Milan. Like I knew that once he gets his place back in that team, he's going to deliver because he's made for PB. Like, however, what my point was going to be would be like us guys that talk from a PB angle, we probably don't acknowledge enough the MB side of it. And that's why the likes of Mbappe and certain boys that might not be returning PB, there was a lot of like long-term faith put in the fact that because Mbappe is Mbappe, he's going to be able to hit those PB scores because of the multiple goal games. But there's also the MB angle, which needs to be appreciated. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, mate.
I was just going to say, so what do you reckon the Matrix could do with sort of maybe dabbled with Wise and stuff,
No.
maybe sort of changed slightly, or do you reckon that's just where it is?
No.
I think you know, my main sort of thing I was sort of leading on to was the case of, you know, we're talking about dividends here. We're talking about media dividends, PP dividends, you know, IPDs will sort of fall into that and stuff as well. And, you know, if I keep saying that is the foundation of this company, you know, so for me, I'm in agreement of yeah, definitely to value a player. It is what they earn within dividends, and that's where we see them and stuff. I get the potential and I get but all that's crystal ball stuff. All that is just sort of, you know, guesswork from sort of looking at someone on the pitch who could get injured at any stage, or like it says, could go off on a tangent of some sort. What about if they increase dividends?
If they increase dividends, all it does is it generally inflates the value for the trader and will gradually, gently push things up over time. There won't be a massive leverage, and I can't see them doing it at the moment because their profitability has dropped in the short term because the prices have dropped so much that their 2% commission or 4% commission on the buy and sell has decreased significantly by the fact that the general top end has decreased massively in value. So,
but then if you were to increase it, would that not increase more trading? Would that not increase? Especially now, don't forget you've got matching bids as well, Wise and stuff. I don't, you know, buy now is obviously coming to it, Wise and stuff. Would that sort of encourage maybe a bit more trading, Wise and stuff, if to raise the?
In theory, sorry,
again, you're back to the point where I think that generally, if you look at the general investor in the index, I think most of us are maximum leveraged. I don't think there's a huge. If you had people that were all new to this and had put like 100 quid in,
okay,
I'd agree that there's a headroom for us to invest, but the people I know, and I might be biased in my view because I might know all the traders, everyone is heavily leveraged. There's nobody who's got spare capital to invest at this point. So
like higher dividends would potentially sort of, I don't know, draw in new traders?
But potentially, but when the world's on fire, you know, is that really going to help? I mean, the dividend returns are already pretty good.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I agree. No, I totally agree. Yeah, they're fantastic. But what we're saying is obviously to get this capital appreciation type stuff kick-started, you know, could it? I don't know. Let's just say that they do it till the end of the season. But then if they do that, I get obviously the backlash that you're going to get at the end of the season and stuff. So it'd have to be something more permanent. I'm literally talking to myself here as I think this. But even still, you know, I don't know. I'm just. It's to me. It's all pointing to some sort of how we value these players, and could we kickstart it and keep it kickstarted with increasing, whether it be just a 33%.
Yeah, I like personally, like when the king of the index is less than 6 quid and 28p for a gold day, like, you know, like Neymar could smash half of his price in like 30 games in theory, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't think this, like, in terms of it being a fix, then yeah, like I guess so, but I honestly don't know if like is it sticky plaster stuff? I don't know. Like, my point is that we need confidence back. That's what we need. We just need confidence back. And, you know, like, we're not going to have the mad capital appreciation that we used to have. You know, that those days are gone. You know, that ship has sailed. You know, but in terms of our players are valued at what they should be right now, are they? Heck, they're like fucking half, or, you know what I mean? You know, they're nowhere near. You know, like, we've all got our subjective opinions on who should be the king and who's worth this and who's worth that. That's the nature of the game. You know, we could argue that till, you know, forever, but like, in terms of what the index needs now, it needs confidence, it needs faith, it needs belief, and that's what they need. It's hard, like, but I wanted to, like, I've heard a lot said about it, and like, and I've spoke a lot with guys messaging me and stuff, in terms of like, oh, in a normal world, when you lose that consumer confidence, when you lose that consumer faith, it's really hard to regain, and that is generally the case. However, I think the passion that users have on Football Index, also the addictive nature of it and the obsessive nature of it. I think it would take less to restore that faith, but I don't know what it's going to take, what exactly it will take to restore that faith. But it needs something. They need to do something.
But this is the thing, right? Is that the problem I think we've got as a community is there's like, say, if I look at the latest stats today, so there's like 4,600 traders that have traded in the last 24 hours. Generally, you will see something in the region of like 60 people sitting on this stream. You'll see probably around 200 people sitting on John's stream, and maybe a few more sitting on Fig's stream, or maybe about 200 sitting on Fig's stream. So that means that there's like some in the region of like 4,500 traders that aren't engaging in any point in the community. So that means that no matter how much education or how much debate the general community is having, there's 95% of it that we're not touching. And that's where the problem lies, is that we need to...
Can I just say one thing?
Go on.
I had 3 traders this weekend that have said to me they've never spoke a word on Facebook or Slack, but they followed everything. Like silent traders. Like sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, go on. You're talking once.
No. That's all I want to say, Stuart. You're like, sorry, I interrupted you, mate.
No, because I was let you go. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. But it literally, it's funny you should say that, because seeing new people joining the Facebook group. Now, obviously, one of the questions, obviously, we've on it before you get into there, is how long have you been on the platform? So the amount of people that I'm starting to see, that have been on the platform 2-3 years and only just joining the Facebook group now, it sort of points maybe towards that and stuff as well. That people are only just now starting to engage with social media or trying to get into sort of these platforms and stuff because they want to find out how best to fix the issue or what other people are saying about it.
I mean, Christ, the only reason why I got into Twitter was because I was trying to sell my data product back in the day. I used to be all about the forum, and I'm on Discord the first time because of my live stream the other day.
Whose Discord is this?
Oh, I don't know. It's mainly guys that used to be on the forum. So I used to be very big on the forum back in the day, pre-child. I was one of the top 5 guys on the forum. And so that's where most of my backing comes from, is the forum. And apparently there's a Discord that was set up, which is selectively picked off the more sage members of the FI forum.
I got you.
As the SI forums turned into a bit more of a toxic wasteland these days. But
did they ever bring it back? Did they bring it back, the forum, or did it?
Oh yeah, the forum's still there.
It disappeared.
No, it's still there
for a while, didn't it?
You can go and talk on the forum right now. The FI forum is still there, but this is the messed up thing: is you've got the FI forum, you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, you've got Discord, you've got Slack, you've got the WhatsApp groups that sit in the background of all of this. You've got guys on the pub. There is so many layers to this onion, and it is very difficult to disambiguate it all. Because if we look at the live traders today, we're talking about generally somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000 traders that are sitting there on the index. We've got, say, 70,000 people that follow FI on Twitter. We've got something like 100,000 people that apparently exist as part of the forum. We've got 8,000 users on Facebook. We've got God knows how many people on Slack. It's all very confusing. So if you want to know where the forum is, if you open your Football Index into your actual web browser, in fact, you know what, I'm just going to share my screen. It's going to be easier. Where's share screen? Let me open Zoom and share my screen. You can tell how hard this gets every time I have another drink.
Yeah, I've just never done the forum. I've always had enough. Like between Slack and Twitter, I've always been like, Facebook. I jump into Facebook as well. As well. So, but yeah, no, I have enough already. I couldn't do another one.
If you hover over the More button when you've got your main Football Index thing open, you will see this lovely button called the forum down the bottom.
It was closed down, was it? What was it closed down for?
Oh, I generally don't know it was closed down. So then you've got all of this info.
It's been said in the comments. Forum was destroyed by the whole Mr. White saga of 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure I remember did they disable it or did they suspend it somehow or something for a while and stuff? And then again, And then that's why I asked, is it still going? Because I'm pretty sure I remember it being sort of taken down at one point, and that's why I was wondering if it was back up again.
Well, it's back. It's back in whatever form it's back in.
Back with a bang.
Oh, somebody is, I would like to say good stream there. Oh, there's actually somebody that's messaged me on there and said some lovely, nice things. Very insightful to how the new market works and the reasons. I've been training for over 2 years. And so, oh, there you go. There's somebody sending me some lovely love mail rather than hate mail. That's a nice change. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It still exists. No, Divvy, I don't know what the Mr. White saga is. If anyone in the comments can please educate us, please go ahead. But I'm completely unaware about whatever that was about. Come on, Vespian, give us a view. All I know is that there's an entire Discord that's been set up because FI forum was far too toxic. Now, so that's as much as my knowledge as to what happened to the forum is. All I know is I had a child and I didn't have enough time to spend every 5 minutes on it. So it's gradually my. By the way, if you didn't see my previous stream, you will have seen that I got BBC dadded about halfway through because my wife, I'd literally unleashed my toddler into the room and I had to stop the stream for 5 minutes while I embraced and comforted my toddler because she was very upset that I was not going to pay attention to her for the next 2 hours. Oh, come on, guys, you're all being very quiet in the background.
I'm too busy chatting with Divvy and Vespasian in the comments. I'm distracted. Vespasian's asking if Divvy's found any insight on Twitter, and then I just replied saying,
"Do you know what? We should get Vespasian on this thing.
We really should get Vespasian. Like,
come on, mate, get on there.
Right.
We know you're a gobby little bastard.
I reached out to Vespasian the other week there, and I was like, mate, like you called this, you called the whole lot, like you called every fucking thing of it. Like, don't get me wrong, hey, no offense, Vespasian, I'm going to call you Vesp. Is that all right? Yeah, you do trigger people at times, and I'm not getting into the context of every kind of discussion, but like in terms of what you said about Football Index and the path that it was on, yeah, like not many called it better than you, for sure.
And yeah, Divvy, you've got the link. So if you want to come back on, I know you're busy doing things for the government, but they're always good for a delay. So you might as well park that for the moment and get back on here and talk to the people. Speaking of talking to people, if anyone wants to get onto John's stream tomorrow at 9, that's going to be a good one. So jump on there. That will be fantastic work from John Ellis. I'll probably end up at some point on that thing. So me and Frog are generally good lurkers in the background for whenever he hasn't got any actual people to come on. We tend to linger around the background.
I'm just trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
I went from feeling pretty sober to being pretty pissed very quickly. It just kind of like went boom, like just clicked.
I mean, to be honest, guys, I am probably going to call the stream when I finish this glass. So, we'll have done a good 3.5 hours by that point. You don't get much for that content from most streams. So, we will
this hardcore fucking 10-hour sessions, I like your style, Stu. I really do.
I mean, honestly, like if I didn't have wife, if this was pre-wife and child, I would be definitely doing 10-hour sessions.
Just sit live on YouTube for the rest of our lives. Yeah, just talk. Maybe we'll actually talk about like PB players eventually.
but I think this is genuinely what the people need. It is generally just a general bollocksing rant about here is an open forum where everyone can come and have say about anything. And I know 99% of people don't want to actually come and talk to us, but they'll throw the messages on chat and stuff, and we can engage with them at that point. So it is just anyone who has a spare for. Sorry, I'm literally just reading the forum now. Noir X4 stream was fantastic. Anyone who has a spare 4 hours, multiple exclamation marks, could do far worse.
Well, the way I would say it is that think of all those hours traders spent ticker watching. Now they don't do that. They can just come join us.
Yeah, I mean, I grant you, it is great for a live thing where you can dip in and out, but it really doesn't lend itself to re-listening for 4 hours. Cheers, George the Duck. Have a good night, mate. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely.
Paul's still here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm surfing through Facebook and stuff and Twitter and stuff at the moment, wise and stuff. But I'm still lurking in the background and stuff. I just believe you probably hit a new low inviting me on. That's probably what it is. That's probably what chased everybody away.
Oh mate, no.
I think you've only thrown away about 10 to 15%, so that's probably that's probably a win for you, isn't it?
Well, it's better than my portfolio is doing, so that's not bad.
Yeah, it's all good fun, eh? Like, you know, like I spent, you know, I'm a funny one because, you know, especially since I started like writing up players and like doing Frogs Find and, you know, profiling players and stuff like that in itself attracts negativity and attention and you're a pump and dumper and all that pish, you know. But like I've always tried to like stay away from the drama. Like I admit that, you know, I get dragged into it at times, like we all do. But yeah, it's just madness. But going back to like a bit of positivity, like we were saying earlier, then hopefully, you know, we're all going through the same shit right now. So, you know, if we can all kind of at least kind of start to pull in the right direction, then that's only going to benefit us all.
Yeah, it's back to this whole, you know, we've got to pull together in this. And unfortunately, that does involve somehow unifying all segments of the community into one unifying thought and message. Because while we are all off in our own little groups or cults or however we want to define it, it does separate our buying power or our operational power against for FI. So if we want to effectively unionize, we do need to kind of find some kind of unifying voice behind a collective group or a individual, if we want to have some kind of holy savior that's going to come over the horizon with a sword of Damocles. But we need something that is going to catch FI's attention effectively. And the more unified as a community we are, the easier that will be. While we are all putting ideas forward and all tearing those down, we are a very easy divided front, and Football Index can simply point at it and go, well, hang on a second. You know, you guys can't even agree amongst yourselves, let alone us bothering to try and pander to you because you don't know what the fuck you want. You know, that's the problem at the moment, is that anytime anyone in the community has the audacity to put their head above the parapet and try and suggest a way out of this quagmire, 90% of the community just instantly shoot that individual and go, well, that can't be the way. It's like, well, all right, you know, somebody's got to come up with a way out of this. And if we can't agree amongst ourselves with some kind of concept, I don't care what it is, literally anything that isn't just FI introducing instant sell again, because we all know that's not going to happen. You know, we all know that's an instant fix, but it's also not going to happen. So what other options are there out there? Let's get creative with this. Let's think about this as a community, because that's what we need to happen. Let's find a really bloody radical way out of this, and then all agree that that's the way forward and absolutely spam the shit out of FI with it.
I think there definitely was one thing, though, wasn't it? Go on.
Sorry, I need to go. I've got a phone call I need to take, so I need to say bye.
Cheers, Frog. Have a good one, mate.
Okay, all right. Take care, guys. It's been a pleasure. Nice talking to you all.
And you, bye-bye.
Cheers.
I think there's one thing that's brought us all together, and that has to be that Trump tweet. I think without a shadow of a doubt, every single person that is on FI at the moment is literally shit. I actually announced it and pinned it within the Facebook group. That's, you know, just to sort of bring it, you know, if you can't laugh about it, then you're going to cry sort of type thing and stuff. But things like that, you know, I think it's just to make sort of, you know, light of the sort of situation that we're in, wise and stuff, and bring a bit of laughter back into the community a little, you know, and that couple of seconds that we're all watching that sort of, you know, short clip for, but we're all laughing and stuff at it, wise and stuff, even though we're all crying inside.
And on that particular bombshell, I think now is a good time to end it, because I've finished my glass of wine. It is hit midnight. We've been going for 3.5 hours. I still haven't seen this bloody Trump Twitter thing, so I'm going to go and watch that before I go to bed.
You need to watch it.
It's definitely a good night, evening point now. So thank you everyone that's dialed in for this, and have a lovely evening. And I'm sure I'll be doing one of these when the next apocalypse arrives. So stay tuned, and I'll see you tomorrow on John's pod, basically. So have a nice evening, guys.